subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Reward from this mission is much better than the level +3 of Rainbow Gym. Not to mention that after all 3 ring tasks are completed, the highest level Pokemon in the current team will be additionally rewarded with level +3. This is not a matter of luck, but a real guarantee. Leaving Rainbow City, Xiaozhi and his party headed for Fuchsia City, where the Fuchsia Gym is located. While passing through a forest, Xiaozhi met an unexpected person, his childhood playmate and rival, Gary the Hedgehog. To be honest, when we first met, Xiaozhi almost didn't recognize him. It is different from the group of girlfriends who drove a sports car, wore designer clothes, and carried a car when we set off. At this time, Gary looked a little sloppy. His clothes had not been washed for several days and were dirty, but a pair of eyes are surprisingly bright, full of perseverance. Apparently, he couldn't repay the gains he gained from the hiking trip because he had gone to see the beautiful woman in the luxury car. Gary Power Trip has always made a fool of himself before, but it's rare to see him looking so down and out. Xiaozhi felt a little happy. If you are not afraid of your brothers having a hard time, you are afraid of your brothers driving a Land Rover. Hey, isn't this our master Gary? We haven't seen him for several months. Why is this happening? Where's your sports car? Where's your girlfriend group? Hearing the familiar voice of his bad friend, the disgraced Gary's face turned even darker, like a piece of coal. It's not all thanks to you, Xiaozhi. Not only did you not ask for a penny from home after you started traveling, you also gave Aunt Delia a lot of money. This incident spread around the town, and all the trainers in our group who set off were miserable. The other 2 were fine, but they were left behind by their family members. My grandfather simply cut my funding in half, and then in half again. I was not allowed to drive a sports car, and now all my girlfriends are gone. Gary said through gritted teeth, looking at Xiaozhi holding the young and lively Misty in his hand. The 2 of them are bright and beautiful, and it seems that they are not suffering much. I felt even more unhappy. You deserve to die. Xiaozhi, you're a dog. Why are you like a dog? TSK. Gary, I'm not telling you that love bought with money cannot stand the test. I'm different. I am poor and only have feelings. This is Misty, the 4th lady of the Cerulean Gym. Speaking of which, Misty also sold a mid-grade moonstone before and credited it to my account for me to spend as I pleased. Xiaozhi imitated Gary's pretense in front of him before and spoke condescendingly. This wave of polarity reversal and identity swap almost made Gary's nose angry. Just turn around and walk in the other direction. Xiaozhi, in the final analysis, trainer ultimately speaks for himself with his strength. While I was playing video with my grandpa, I saw the Krabby you conquered. With all due respect, just like its trainer, it's pitifully weak. If you're interested when we get back to Pallet Town, the 2 of us can play Krabby. Same Pokemon, Master Gary. I want you to see the gap between the 2 of us. Gary posted the challenge confidently. What he didn't know was that Professor Oak only showed him Xiaozhi's mini Krabby in order not to damage his self-confidence. Others, like Flash Horsia, are all hidden and not revealed. Ding! Trigger mission. Use Krabby to defeat Gary's Krabby. Task reward. Potential enhancement ribbon. Iron. Potential level below the sky. +1 after using Pokemon with potential. Long Jing Humeng Pill 1. Exclusive for trainer. Doubles physical fitness after use. Triggering special effects. Dragon Jing Humeng. After receiving the task prompt, Xiaozhi's eyes lit up. Gary was indeed his good brother. Surprisingly, in addition to the Indigo Plateau Conference, another mission was triggered for myself. He decisively accepted the task and said to Gary's leaving back, I agree to your application for a competition, but the time will be before the start of the Indigo Plateau Conference. I haven't had time to breed Krabby yet. I'll wait until I get back to Pallet Town to breed for a while. Okay, your Krabby breeder is just like that no matter how hard it is. Just wait and admit defeat. Gary's voice came from far away. Chapter 82. Psyduck the Duck God, bound by fate, rewards critical hits. Xiaozhi, is that Gary, just now your friend? He looks so power trip. After Gary left, Misty couldn't help but said to Xiaozhi, Gary has this kind of character. He's a little better now. When you first started, you don't know how powerful the trip is. But even though Power Trip is a little bit stinky, he doesn't have a bad heart. I see. Then Xiaozhi, would you like to breed the crabs in advance? Didn't you just teleport back to Professor Oak after conquering it and pass without the breeder? I think Gary seems very confident. Maybe in order to win against you, he will give his Krabby a special training. Misty said slightly worriedly. She didn't want the person she liked to lose to that Power Trip, Gary. Misty, what you said makes sense. Just wait for a chance to teleport Krabby to breeder for a while. Professor Oak has too many things to do every day, and he may not be able to take care of them. Xiaozhi nodded, thinking that with Gary's character, he might not give his own Krabby a special training just to beat him. Of course, Gary, who has seen how small his Krabby is, may be so bloated that he doesn't need any preparation. Anyway, no matter how Gary responds, there's nothing wrong with him dedicating some time and energy to Breeder Krabby. Speaking of which, Krabby has never seen himself as a trainer after being conquered for so long. Don't get into trouble if the intimacy level fails to improve. Xiaozhi silently thought about replacing Krabby with Breeder for a while after completing the challenge at Fuchsia Gym. The two of them and one mouse then headed towards Fuchsia City. On the way, there were no consumables such as energy cubes and training equipment in Rainbow City. Two people and one mouse entered a city with a rather strange name called Yo-Yo District to supplement. This city is basically full of high-rise buildings with few green plants, and it looks a little less lively. After replenishing the consumables, Xiaozhi and Misty went to the Pokemon Center as usual, intending to restore the contest condition of the Pokemon for the next trip. At the Pokemon Center, Xiaozhi saw some Pokemon who looked a little depressed, but it didn't look like he was injured. One of the familiar figures caught Xiaozhi's attention. Isn't this Psyduck? I remembered. The original plot is here. Misty subdues the duck god who is afraid of water and cannot swim, and is a bit stupid, but psychic is very exaggerated. Nurse Joy, what's wrong with these Pokemon? They look a little listless. Misty also noticed the sad Pokemon and asked Nurse Joy. Officer Jenny came here just now. It seems to be caused by a sleep wave. She has used special equipment to find the source of the sleep wave. Nurse Joy explained to the two. Not long after Nurse Joy finished explaining, the lady came to the Pokemon Center with a Solip. Let it use the sleep wave to offset the sleep wave used by the other Cerebro and return the Pokemon in the Pokemon Center to normal. But Psyduck still looks dull and not too smart. After doing all this, Officer Jenny took Solip to the city's Central Park without stopping. Over there are some children who are affected by the hypnotic wave and imagine themselves to be Pokemon. After help Misty subdued Horsia, who was supposed to be subdued last time, Xiaozhi received the system task reward and tasted the sweetness. I was thinking about how to get Misty to conquer Psyduck. Nurse Joy was seen holding her chin in distress. The other Pokemon have returned to normal, but this Psyduck seems to be the same as before. It hasn't changed at all. Well, Pikachu boy and orange-haired girl, are you interested in taking this Psyduck away? Nurse Joy's eyes lit up when she saw Xiaozhi and Misty, who were still in the Pokemon Center lobby. This Psyduck does not have a trainer. She brought it back from outside some time ago, with the Pokemon affected by the hypnotic wave. Now that the other Pokemon are back to normal, they can be sent away from the Pokemon Center. But Psyduck obviously can't be released directly into the wild like this. But she couldn't take care of him if he stayed at the Pokemon Center. It would be great if it could be given away. We don't want this stupid guy. Nurse Joy, you should wait a little longer to see if any other trainer is willing to take it. Just like the original plot, at the beginning Misty really didn't like the dull-witted Psyduck, and she had no intention of conquering him, even if the opponent is its favorite water-type Pokemon. Misty said, holding Xiaozhi's hand and trying to lift her forehead. Only then did she realize that Xiaozhi's feet seemed to be on the ground. Not only did she not pull them, she staggered. Seeing that Xiaozhi had no intention of leaving, Misty cast a doubtful look. Nurse Joy, let's take Psyduck away. Afraid that Nurse Joy would regret it, Xiaozhi had to drag Psyduck with him. But before Xiaozhi could make a move, Psyduck jumped down from the table first, dazedly stroking his head and followed Misty. He looked convinced of Misty. Thank you both so much. Nurse Joy got rid of a big trouble and was immediately grateful to the two of them. Wait, Joe. Misty still wants to fight for it one more time. If possible, she really didn't want to leave with this silly-looking Psyduck. Before he finished speaking, he was pulled away by Xiaozhi. If your refusal succeeds, will you regret it in the future? This is the Duck God. As the saying goes, Tailwind Pidgeotto against the Wind Pikachu. Desperate situation to see the Duck God. Although as a pure water-type Pokemon, Psyduck not only cannot swim, but is also afraid of water, and its water gun skill is also weak at the beginning. However, its psychic potential is not too strong at all. It just requires a headache to trigger it at first. Although it is not your own Pokemon, you cannot view the attribute panel of Duck God. But the potential of Duck God may not reach the same championship level as Pikachu Charizard. An ability is not the ability or hidden ability that normal Psyduck should have. Rather, like the actor from Pikachu 2.6, he possesses some extremely special abilities. At first, Misty couldn't stand Psyduck and disliked it, but later she started to like it more. Xiaozhi, you keep pulling me away. Is it because there is something different about Psyduck? Although he is arrogant, he is not stupid. After a while, she knew that Xiaozhi would never make a mistake, and she had some guesses. Maybe there was something about this silly-looking Psyduck that Xiaozhi valued, so he agreed. Xiaozhi nodded. That's right. Misty, you should subdue her first and then talk about it. Even though she was a little disgusted, Misty still took out a treasure ball out of trust in Xiaozhi. After Psyduck saw the baby ball, he didn't even need to subdue it. He just opened it and went in. Ding! Complete the hidden mission. The fateful bond between Misty and Psyduck. This bond is an advanced bond and triggers a critical hit. Chapter 83. God-given superpower. The mythical beast is myself. Task reward. Title, God-given superpower. After wearing the title, you will have extremely terrifying psychic talent. The psychic level will naturally increase by 1 level every year, with the upper limit being the Grandmaster level. Current psychic level, intermediate. After seeing the terrifying hidden mission reward, Xiaozhi was stunned. Titled God-given superpower, Psychic Ocean naturally increases by 1 level. Equivalent to wearing the title, Xiaozhi directly has a psychic talent that is no less than his own Waveguide Power talent. As long as he wears the title, Xiaozhi will naturally possess the highest level of Grandmaster Psychic in 3 years. This level of Psychic is even stronger than the Waveguide Power of Yalong, who is known as the strongest Waveguide hero. According to Xiaozhi's estimation, it has already reached the level of a first-level god. It does not count as completing the task, but progressing in advance. 3 years later, Xiaozhi will have Psychic comparable to a first-level god. 4 years later, Xiaozhi will have the power of Waveguide comparable to a first-level god. Oops, the humanoid beast is actually me. After wearing the title, God-given superpower, Xiaozhi calmed down the excitement in his heart. It can only be said that Duck God is indeed a Duck God, more like a pure super-type Pokemon than a water-type Pokemon. It helped it form a bond with Misty, and the reward after completing the hidden mission was actually such a terrifying psychic title. Love it, love it. And Misty, also a little lucky star. If it weren't for her, Xiaozhi wouldn't have been able to complete this hidden mission. He was born with no psychic talent, so his psychic level could only be improved by relying on the rewards obtained from system tasks. It itself is extremely uncertain. If the system never releases tasks to increase the psychic level, won't Xiaozhi always have to be overwhelmed by Sabrina? And he has never been able to complete the task of surpassing Sabrina in psychic level and shocking her with hundreds of millions of cheaters. Misty is so awesome. I must reward her well tonight. On the other side, Inlay couldn't figure out what exactly is Psyduck's special qualities that deserve Xiaozhi's attention to Misty. Suddenly, she noticed that Xiaozhi looked at her in a strange way. Her expression was very similar to the way she looked up when Xiaozhi held her head down. Misty was frightened and looked around. It's still daytime, and we're still outside. No way. The Baba. At this time, Xiaozhi also came back to his senses and saw Misty taking half a step back unconsciously. He knew that the look in his eyes just now might have caused Misty some not-so-good misunderstandings. No, it can't be considered a misunderstanding. Although he didn't plan to take action now, he did think about it. The pervert is me. He coughed, concealed his slight embarrassment, and uncovered the mass. Misty, you released Psyduck. Aren't you wondering why I asked you to capture it? This shows you where Psyduck excels. Misty was really curious, so she immediately took out Psyduck's baby ball and released it. Ha! After Psyduck came out, he scratched his head with both hands, with a clear and stupid look on his face, as if he didn't know what happened. Having become Psyduck's trainer, Misty, who felt quite embarrassed when she saw Psyduck's appearance, simply couldn't stand it. He covered his face and turned his head to the side. After a moment, she turned her head away again when she remembered what she was doing by releasing Psyduck. Psyduck, since Xiaozhi said there is something outstanding about you, it must be right. Come on, show me the simplest water gun skill. Misty pointed to a small tree in the distance that was as thick as an arm and said to Psyduck. Ha! Psyduck still looked back with clear and stupid eyes, and his look was exactly the same as that of a college student who had not yet gone out into society. Psyduck, are you even listening to me? See that tree over there? Use water gun to feed it. Did you hear it? Misty was a little bit flamboyant, so she stepped forward and knocked Psyduck on the head. This time, Psyduck finally understood the long reflex arc opening its mouth, a small stream of water that resembled a middle-aged man's endless urine spit up in its mouth. Just at this moment, a strong wind blew by, and the water column spit up was blown back not far away. The down on Psyduck's body got quite wet. The scene was very embarrassing for a time. Misty felt like she was going to be embarrassed to see anyone. Although he was already prepared for the fact that Psyduck was not proficient in the water-type skill, Xiaozhi still couldn't help but want to laugh. Forced to hold back the smile on his face, he patted Misty on the shoulder before mourning. Misty, calm down and think on the bright side. At least Psyduck will get wet in the wind. It's better than some middle-aged and old men's tailwind shoes that get wet. Xiaozhi, Misty cast a very grudge look and then raised its pair of obvious little fangs toward Xiaozhi. The meaning is very clear if Xiaozhi doesn't give an explanation about Psyduck. Xiaozhi's experience tonight will definitely not be wonderful. Anxious. She is anxious, seeing that Misty was about to break her defense. Xiaozhi had no intention of teasing her anymore. Misty, don't look at Psyduck, who looks stupid and stupid. He can't even use the skills of this department. But its psychic talent is quite good. But don't Pokemon with good psychic talents look smart? Psyduck doesn't look like it either. Then take a look, Xiaozhi said, and came to Psyduck's side. The reason why Psyduck usually behaves so stupidly is that even his reactions are a bit slower than other Pokemon. Mainly because it is extremely talented in psychic and has a lot of confusion in its head. This part of the confusion even brought pressure to Psyduck's head. The most obvious characteristic is that the reaction speed is slowed down and the entire Pokemon looks a little dull and silly. And when its head is attacked and stimulated by pain, its control over its food supply will also increase. So in the original plot, Psyduck's head was attacked numerous times, not bad, in desperate situations. Then he used confusion to save the situation due to the headache. After the headache returned to normal, he returned to his original dull appearance. Xiaozhi possesses an intermediate psychic, so he naturally does not need to use simple and crude methods such as headaches to liberate Psyduck's history. At this time, he used his own psychic to guide Psyduck's confusion to relax the oppression on his spirit. Then, Psyduck's dull eyes became obviously a little smarter. Psyduck, use confusion to lift that rock and show Misty what you're capable of. Xiaozhi directed Psyduck to use confusion to lift a boulder, which was more than 5 meters long, wide and high, weighing several 10 tons, more than 30 meters high, and then let it fall freely. The boulder hit the ground hard, and under the effect of the terrifying gravity, it felt like the entire ground was shaking. At this moment, Misty's eyes were glazed over. Who I am? Where am I? Chapter 84. Misty's shock. Anthony's old DK no. This one is using confusion to lift a 10-ton boulder. Is this the same duck that used the water gun skill to compete with a middle-aged man's endless peeing just now? Brother, Psyduck is a serious Water-type Pokemon. Although I can use Super-type skills, I don't have any superpower attributes. This is the same as the main Super Energy system and the secondary Water system, but Psyduck's telekinesis is really strong. Unexpectedly, he usually looks stupid, but he is surprisingly capable of doing something. No wonder Xiaozhi insisted on taking it away at that time. Xiaozhi actually left a Psyduck as powerful as Confusion to himself. It was really good for him. I must keep my tiger fangs away from now on, so as not to cause pain to Xiaozhi. Misty was moved beyond words. He suppressed his excitement and stepped forward. Watching Xiaozhi remove the psychic guidance and restore the Psyduck who was oppressed by confusion and stupid contest condition. Look left and right, whatever you like. There is no longer any disgust like before the conquest. Look at those eyes full of wisdom. This is not stupidity. This must be great wisdom and foolishness. Hidden under the silly eyes is a heart that sees the world. That must be it. With Psyduck's help, I am a little more confident in supporting the Cerulean Gym and letting it get rid of the title of the weakest gym in the Kanto region and become the top gym in the Kanto region again. What? Psyduck's water-based skills are defeated, and he will only use psychic-based skills. Doesn't meet Alliance's restrictions on gym leaders using Pokemon in gym battles. Please, go back and check the Pokemon Pokédex. The Psyduck Pokédex data clearly states that it is a pure water-type Pokemon. Read more when you have time. Misty put Psyduck back into the baby ball, hugged the baby ball, and giggled. In this wave, Misty conquered Psyduck, who has great potential and is expected to grow into a popular Pokemon. Psyduck met his favorite trainer. Xiaozhi received the title of God-given superpower as a hidden mission reward. Qin Shi Huang looked into a double-sided mirror. 3 wins belong to Yes. Leaving the Yo-Yo-U area, Xiaozhi and his party then headed towards Fuchsia City, where the Fuchsia Gym is located. On the way, we have already passed the Rainbow Gym of Grass type. Next, only Poison type's Fuchsia Gym and Fire type's Cinnabar Gym remain. Xiaozhi's focus on leveling up was mainly on Charmeleon. Although the wild Pokemon encountered on the road were not of high levels, they were more numerous and gave Charmeleon a lot of combat experience. Xiaozhi estimates that it is not far away from being upgraded to 436 and evolving into Charizard. If you meet rival who is of similar level, have a hearty battle. Maybe it can evolve naturally. Misty, who had seen Psyduck's terrifying talent in Confusion, would let Psyduck out for a breather from time to time. It seems that Squirtle, Horsea, and Starmie have been squeezed out. It has become Misty's most favored Pokemon. But there is no Xiaozhi to help guide Psyduck to relieve Confusion's mental oppression. Most of the time, he still behaves in a silly manner. Xiaozhi doesn't have a good solution for this. His Psychic is only intermediate and cannot help Psyduck solve this problem at the root. Each time, it can only relieve it for a period of time. This means that in a short period of time, if Xiao Lei wants to use Psyduck to fight, it's best to have Xiaozhi by his side to help Psyduck relieve Confusion's mental oppression in advance. Otherwise, you can only try your luck like the original plot and see if rival will attack Psyduck's head and put into a headache contest condition. If you're unlucky, releasing Psyduck is a bonus. However, this situation may be completely solved after Xiaozhi's Psychic is upgraded to Advanced or Master level. Exercise all the way to level up, take a trip to the mountains, water sport, and occasionally do some embarrassing things. Xiaozhi, Misty, and the two were approaching the edge of a town again. On the roadside, I met a Hitmonchan who was boxing. It looked like he had been training for a long time and was sweating a lot. Judging from the skin condition and eyes of the opponent, this Hitmonchan is not too young. At least they have been trained by a trainer for more than 5 or 6 years. But the level is not high. Only LV28, not even the elite level. It can be seen that his talent is truly normal. Even if he undergoes rigorous training, it is already extraordinary to be able to break through to the elite level. Next to Hitmonchan stood an uncle in a white vest. His upper body is muscular, and he has a red towel draped around his neck. At this time, the uncle in the white vest is doing boxing training with Hitmonchan. Pikachu boy and Psyduck girl passing by. Are you interested in having a Pokemon battle with my Hitmonchan? My name is Anthony, and I am receiving special training with Hitmonchan. who plays the song of the Pie Fighting Contest champion. In the training room, I saw Xiaozhi and Misty passing by. An uncle in a white vest named Anthony immediately invited the two of them. During special training, he and Hitmonchan will also fight passing trainers and look for wild Pokemon to fight. Anthony? Sure enough, it was him. When he saw Hitmonchan, Xiaozhi wondered whether the middle-aged man next to him, whose painting style was obviously different from the others, was the shameless Anthony. I didn't expect that the other party's revealed identity was really true. This reminded him of an unfinished task still hanging on the task panel. Use Primeape to participate in the P1 fighting competition and win the championship. During this period, Anthony, who abandoned his wife and daughter and shamelessly begged for the hot monkey, was severely punished. Task completion reward: high-quality Nidoran 1 clue. Okay, your kid is Anthony, right? I am worried about where to find you. Now that we have encountered this shameless person, the P1 fighting competition should be held soon, just in time to complete the task and get the task reward. The high-quality Nidoran that has been certified by the system, the talent is definitely not much different. There's a high probability of reaching elite. Even if it is not elite, it is still quasi-elite. It is definitely suitable to be cultivated as the main Pokemon of Poison type. Xiaozhi also hopes to take it to level up quickly to see if it can pass the Fuchsia Gym. Of course, if there is really no time to upgrade the level. You can also go to Heiyun City and conquer Mook, the Grimer boss in the original plot. Visited Fuchsia Gym as Mook. Mook is a serious, pure Poison-type Pokemon. Although he's a bit smelly, his character is first class and his strength is quite good. In the original plot, helped Xiaozhi solved many difficult rivals. Due to his feelings and abilities, Xiaozhi also had to conquer Mook from Heiyun City. Anyway, he can use Psychic to temporarily seal his nose, as long as Xiaozhi doesn't feel the smell. Others, especially Professor Oak, find it smelly? Sprinkle some water. It will be better if you get used to it for a while. Squints and Smiles. Chapter 85. Effort is nothing compared to Xiaozhi's talent faced with Anthony. A shameless old man, Xiaozhi will naturally not be as nice as he is to others. Xiaozhi decisively refused the other party's invitation to compete in Pokemon battle. Sorry, not interested. I traveled with the goal of becoming a Pokemon master. My girlfriend is also going to be a water-type Pokemon master in the future. Uncle, you are too weak. If I use you as rival, it will reduce my fighting experience. When Xiaozhi said this, Misty looked a little surprised. The Xiaozhi she knew was not someone who mocked passers-by for no reason. However, knowing that Xiaozhi must have his own reasons for doing things, she didn't ask too much, especially in front of outsiders. Even if Xiaozhi really did something wrong, we still have to save some face for Xiaozhi and ask him what happened after he gets back. Not to mention there might be a reason for this. After Anthony heard Xiaozhi's words, his face turned red with anger. He raged a bit in an extremely raged situation. Because what Xiaozhi said is really right. He is indeed such a waste. He has worked hard for most of his life just to win a P1 fighting competition championship at 27. But the P1 fighting competition is just the most entry-level competition among the Pokemon fighting competitions. An ordinary small town can hold it once a year. As for this most entry-level competition, he has participated in it for more than 10 years and has never won the championship once. Trainers of his age who are keen on fighting competitions have already won the P1 fighting competition championship. Go and challenge P2, P3, and even higher level fighting competitions. He is the only one who is still struggling in this small town. His wife and daughter at home knew that he had no talent in this area and persuaded him many times to give up on this path. Not tired of taking the trouble, he directly chose to run away from home with Hitmonchan and go to the mountains for special training, just to avenge previous humiliation in this year's P1 fighting competition. It's good to have lofty ambitions, but you have to have abilities worthy of such ambitions. Otherwise, it's not a good thing. I advise you to be more realistic and choose goals that are easier to achieve. For example, for me, my goal is to win the P1 fighting competition. Young people, don't be too angry. Anthony looked like he was an experienced person and started talking to Xiaozhi Misty. If you're not angry, can you still call yourself a young person? You have been pursuing the P1 Fighting Competition Championship for half your life, and you did not hesitate to abandon your wife and daughter to do so. In my eyes, it's just like picking something out of a bag. Normal and easy, it's at your fingertips. In my previous life, I had enough of so-called senior leaders in the workplace, as well as relatives and elders who were beyond my reach and looked like they had come from the past, telling you that he has eaten more salt than you have eaten rice. When Xiaozhi heard this, he instinctively felt disgusted and immediately responded. The other party is not a good person anyway. Even if it is not to complete the task, just based on the opponent's original plot, Primeape is strong and has great potential. There is no point in shamelessly asking Xiaozhi for Primeape. It was said that it was to help with training, but I didn't see you taking the initiative to contact me and send it back later. It's just that in the original plot, Xiaozhi is stupid and easy to deceive, while Jishao is easy to control. Half fooled and half cheated, he got Primeape, a Pokemon with ridiculously high potential that could bring him endless honor, social status, and money with just a little training. You know, Xiaozhi's Primeape has elite potential, but it's still a hidden ability that refuses to admit defeat. It is no exaggeration to say that the value is more expensive than the lives of all the people in their entire town combined. At least that's the way it is in the eyes of some of Alliance's top brass. I was deceived by Anthony just like that. If this was placed in Xiaozhi's previous life, it would definitely be a serious economic case. The current Xiaozhi is not the silly person in the original plot, so he will not coax Primeape away. Not only that, he also had to be taught a lesson by Wolf. The P1 fighting competition is not as simple as you think. You can get it at your fingertips. Don't let the time come when you can't even pass the first round. Anthony, who had been frustrated by Xiaozhi several times, blushed and replied angrily. He simply kept out of sight and took his Hitmonchan to a distance to continue training. Although I really want to beat Xiaozhi up, judging from his past experience. Trainers are not easy to mess with if they have the ability to travel, especially if they are accompanied by a female companion who looks glamorous and does not look like someone who sleeps in the open air. The Hitmonchan in his hand couldn't bring him enough security. Don't hit someone but get F-ed instead. That would be embarrassing. Even if you look at his muscles, he can only be used at home. He shows off his authority over his wife and daughter, and even runs away from home if they disagree with him. Outside, he withered. Xiaozhi ignored Anthony's sarcastic remarks before leaving in despair. In the original plot, both Xiaozhi and Primeape can easily win the P1 fighting competition. Isn't it more relaxed and joyful now? No matter what, it's just the lowest level of fighting event held by town. With his command level and Primeape strength, if he can't win the championship, why travel and be a Pokemon master? Go directly back to Pallet Town to sell roasted corn. After 3 or 4 years, the powers of Psychic and Waveguide will all awaken to the master level. If you are a humanoid, mythical beast, you will not fly away if you join the Mythical Beast Club and laugh at it. Leaving the open space where Anthony and Hitmonchan were training, Xiaozhi headed towards the town not far away. Misty, who was left with her own people around, couldn't help but ask Xiaozhi, "Xiaozhi, what did you say about the uncle abandoning his wife and daughter?" Xiaozhi looked at the figure walking in front of him and made a gesture with his eyes. "You'll find out later." "Excuse me, my name is Rebecca. Have you met my father, Anthony? He likes to wear a white vest with a red towel around his neck and is accompanied by a Hitmonchan. He and Hitmonchan have been away from home for a long time, and my mother and I are very worried about him. If you walk about 2 kilometers in this direction, there's an open space on the left where they train." Xiaozhi pointed in the direction the two came from. "Thank you so much." Rebecca quickly thanked her and hurriedly walked over there. After Rebecca left, Xiaozhi looked at Misty. Well, it literally means abandoning one's wife and daughters, and now their daughters have come to visit. "Bah, you scumbag. If you had known I was following you just now, Xiaozhi, you would have cursed me more." "Xiaozhi, please don't imitate such people in the future." Misty couldn't help but spat, secretly regretting that she didn't follow Xiaozhi's bad mouth just now. Simple bad breath, ultimate enjoyment. Be yin and yang to others, and be happy to yourself. Do not worry. Xiaozhi patted his chest and pledged his support. How could he not want a wife in pursuit of honor and power? He wants both strength and his wife. Both hands must be grasped and both hands must be hard. As for now, naturally, he signed up for the P1 fighting competition and let Anthony see what a truly talented fighter is. Hard work is nothing compared to talent. If you don't have the ability, don't eat this bowl of rice. The right way is to go home and live a good life with your wife and children. Picture Anthony's daughter. Chapter 86. Misty, who doesn't want a milk drink anymore. When I came to town, I grabbed a random passerby and asked, and learned that the P1 fighting competition would be held in 3 days. Xiaozhi immediately signed up. As for the registered Pokemon, it is naturally Primeape, which I conquered before. Misty also supports Xiaozhi's registration for the P1 fighting competition. The main reason is that Anthony's behavior of abandoning his wife and daughter is really too low-key. He is the one who is both good and fun-loving. Maybe letting Xiaozhi give him a good beating in the P1 fighting competition can also make him realize the gap between himself and a real genius. Are you willing to give up your unrealistic dreams and return to your family? Although Anthony is a scumbag, his wife and children are innocent, but they are implicated by him and their lives are not satisfactory. Speaking of which, Misty is a little bit ready to take action and wants to sign up for the P1 fighting competition. But thinking about the Pokemon he held in his hands, he wisely chose to give up. Although the P1 fighting contest does not limit only fighting-type Pokemon to participate. However, if it is a Pokemon with other attributes, it cannot use skills other than fighting type. If you don't have fighting skills, you can only rely on your own physical combat ability to fight against other participating Pokemon. Apart from having excellent physical fitness, 153 also has certain hand-to-hand combat skills. For example, Charizard, Nidoking, Golem, and so on. If other Pokemon join the battle, they will still suffer somewhat. And Misty only has Seaking, Starmie, Wartortle, Horsea, and finally conquered Psyduck. If you calculate it carefully, the only one who can participate in the battle is Wartortle. After all, people can move on the ground, and they can also use Tackle. But it is obviously unrealistic to use this to fight against those professional fighting-type Pokemon. Even if I really want to compete with Xiaozhi on the same stage, I can educate Anthony by the way. Misty had no choice but to give up, but she and Xiaozhi are currently in a relationship. Externally, she's roughly equal to Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi's participation is equivalent to her participation. Xiaozhi wins, which means she wins. There is really nothing wrong with this conversion. Misty is well versed in the method of spiritual victory. After a wave of calculations, she found that she had already won the pot without participating in the competition. Comfortable. 3 days before the start of the P1 fighting competition, Xiaozhi and Misty stayed in the town. Because the town was too small and there was no Pokemon Center, the two people who couldn't afford free food and accommodation stayed in a nice hotel in the town. It's a single-family house, a bit like a country house. Although the price is very beautiful, it cannot stand up to the current Xiaozhi's wealth and Hideki's wealth. With the Pokemon food-making machine, you basically don't have to spend much money raising Pokemon. Sometimes you can even take the general-purpose Pokemon food made by the Pokemon food-making machine and sell in stores. Produced by the system, it must be a high-quality product. Pokemon food made using the system reward production mechanism. Even if it is just a general type, it is enough to beat most of the high-quality Pokemon rations on the market. Whenever he finds that the balance of Alliance coins has dropped a little, Xiaozhi will go back and forth by selling Shungwa Shell food. As a result, his account always maintains assets of more than 1 million Alliance coins. It can be said that there is a sense of security. Accommodation in a single-family villa in the countryside was nothing to him. In fact, if it is not for the convenience of treating Pokemon, you can take a look at the gentle and beautiful Nurse Joy for some eye candy. Xiaozhi, Misty, and the two are even in a big city with a Pokemon Center. You can also use the Pokemon Center's free food and accommodation without officially registering as a trainer with Assist Alliance. Xiaozhi naturally did not waste these 3 days. In order to prepare for the P1 fighting competition and avoid falling into the gutter, Xiaozhi also conducted special training with Primeape. Improvements have been made in terms of skill proficiency, reaction speed, and fighting skills. With Xiaozhi, the trainer's dad, personally coaching, Primeape has improved very quickly in this aspect. To use a Jianghu saying, he is more or less a martial arts monkey who knows some basic kung fu. After learning the fighting skills, the skills are connected more smoothly and the ability to seize the opportunity is stronger. It is also easier to use small swings to avoid enemy attacks. In addition, Xiaozhi also takes it outside the town from time to time to improve its level. Although there are not many Pokemon outside the town, and because they are close to human gathering places, they have not formed a larger group, and their levels are still low. But it still made Primeape upgrade a level, from TV 28 to 29. There's only one level left to reach the elite level. It would be impossible for Anthony and his Hitmonchan to level up in 3 days. Misty wasn't idle either. Psyduck did not conduct training due to special circumstances. Her other Pokemon were trained step by step according to the training plan that Xiaozhi had modified. Since he will inherit the Cerulean Gym in the future, he will even become a Water-type Pokemon Master. Work hard to roll it up from now on. Misty in the original plot had to worry too much about being a father and a mother because she followed Xiaozhi who didn't understand anything. After raising Xiaozhi as a blank slate, the growth of myself and Pokemon has slowed down. Although Xiaojing also spent a lot of time with Xiaozhi, he did not follow the trainer route, but the breeder route. Xiaozhi's collection of so many Pokemon allowed him to accumulate a lot of practical experience in this area. There are 3 people in the group, but Xiaolu has only one goal. And now, because of Xiaozhi's reliability and emphasis on training, not only did Misty not need to be a father or a mother, but she was also influenced by Xiaozhi and got involved. Compared with the original plot, the personal level and Pokemon strength have not improved much. Work out hard during the day and be busy with guests. The evening is naturally a time to share feelings and play some interesting games. Every time I wake up the next morning, I feel a little jealous and reluctant. Misty couldn't help but feel lucky that Xiaozhi was a scumbag and there would be other Stephanies in the future. Xiaozhi's love for someone else was too heavy to bear. In the past, she would even fantasize about it, but now she has no such intention at all. In the past, Misty still liked milk drink, especially Moo Moo milk produced by Miltank, which was her favorite. Now Misty doesn't want to drink at all, and even sometimes can't help but take it away when she sees it. All I can say is that if you suddenly don't like something you once liked very much, there must be a reason. And there is a great possibility that a new thing will appear and replace the ecological niche of the original thing. 3 days pass by in a flash with hard training and leveling up, Xiaozhi happy, and Misty worried and happy. In the blink of an eye, it's the day when the P1 fighting competition officially begins. Chapter 87. Passed the test and advanced to the finals. Although it was only a small competition, it was held very formally, and there was a ring specially used for fighting. For this small town, the annual P1 fighting competition is a rare event. After successfully entering the venue with Misty, Xiaozhi successfully obtained his number plate with his registration voucher backstage. Then he was waiting for his number to be called in the player rest area backstage. Anthony, who had a conflict with Xiaozhi a few days ago, is also here. At this time, he was sitting silently explaining something to his Hitmonchan. It seems that there are special preparations for this P1 fighting competition. When he looked at Xiaozhi, Misty, and the 2 of them, he looked a little unkindly. Of course, Xiaozhi didn't expect the other party to give him a good look. It is worth mentioning that Anthony's daughter Rebecca also came over, trying to persuade her father to return to the family. But she seemed to have been frustrated by her father. At this time, she was 2 positions away from Anthony. 180. I plucked up the courage to speak several times, but failed in the end. After sizing up Anthony, Xiaozhi started to look at the other players in the rest area. Because it is a rare event in a small town, there are relatively many contestants participating. Most of them are young people in their 20s. Although there are some uncles like Anthony, there are very few, and they are basically just for fun. Anthony, who devoted all his energy to the P1 fighting competition, failed to win a championship in more than 10 years. A complete clown. When Xiaozhi observes other people, others also observe Xiaozhi. Compared to Anthony, who has never won a championship, other players are more wary of Xiaozhi, a new face trainer that has never been seen in this town. His eyes were always looking at Xiaozhi and Primate beside him. Looking at Xiaozhi's overly young face, the other players who guessed that he was a rookie trainer who just started traveling this year were relieved. He had just started traveling, and even though that Primate looked like a good breeder, he was very energetic. But the gap at the trainer level cannot be bridged. Although the P1 fighting competition is the most entry-level fighting event, it is not that easy to play successfully. These people have more or less special training and understanding. A rookie trainer from out of town has a low chance of beating them. There's a very high probability that not only will it fail to help Pokemon, but it will actually be a disservice. It's not like there haven't been cases like this caused by external trainers before. The others who silently excluded Anthony and Xiaozhi from the championship contestants began to glare at each other, trying to overwhelm rival with their momentum. During the boring wait, Xiaozhi held Misty's hand in his palm while admiring the cockfighting picture. It has to be said that although Misty has a carefree temper, she is quite tough in the original plot and has done things like resisting a bicycle with her hands. But the hands are extremely perfect, without any calluses, slightly warm to the touch, and as gentle as jade. Misty, who was a little flushed by Xiaozhi's intimate actions, subconsciously wanted to pull her hand away. But thinking about being outside now, I'm afraid it would hurt Xiaozhi's face. Arrogant, she could only let her little hands be played by Xiaozhi, biting her red lips lightly. His cheeks turned slightly red, and he turned his head, pretending not to care, and watching the battle on the ring. It's just that her eyes are a little out of focus, and anyone with a discerning eye can tell at a glance that her mind is definitely not on the competition in the ring. Next game, number 65 versus number 32. Xiaozhi, who was so bored that he hit yawn, looked at the number 65 in his hand and stood up excitedly. With her little hands finally freed, Misty quickly retracted her hands and hid them behind her back. But the mood cannot be said to be very happy, but rather a bit lost. In public, her little hand was held and played with by Xiaozhi, which made her a little shy and unbearable even though she was so arrogant. But in her heart, this was just an external manifestation of Xiaozhi's obsession with her, which made her feel extremely safe. Now I suddenly let go, but I'm not used to it anymore. Pikachu. Poor Tom was being manipulated. Pikachu tilted his head and looked at Misty's mood, because Xiaozhi's movements were like a roller coaster going up and down. I can't help but think of a certain episode of Tom and Jerry that Xiaozhi showed to the hypnosis alienated by Millennium Ghastly some time ago. In the first battle of the P1 fighting competition, Xiaozhi and hot monkey-faced rival, a black-skinned man with narrow eyes who looked to be about 20 years old. The same black skin, the same squinty eyes. It is different from Xiao Zhang's appearance, which can be said to be attractive. This black-skinned man looked a bit vulgar with his squinting eyes, and there was also a hint of hostility in his eyes when he looked at Xiaozhi. He has been single since he was born, and he can't even get into a tank by pressing the key, let alone a cute girl. He hates every couple dog equally. Not to mention that Xiaozhi looks so much younger than him, but already has a cute girlfriend, and she openly flirts in the voters' rest area. Isn't this a knife stabbing him in the heart? All lovers should be burned on crosses. Hype narrowed his eyes and shouted in his heart with a dark face, and then sent out his Pokemon with an expressionless face. A grass-type Bellsprout. Although Bellsprout is not of a high level, with its flexible body, is quite capable of fighting larger fighting-type Pokemon. In the original plot of Kanto, at the Indigo Plateau Conference, the beautiful girl Xiaozhi met used a Bellsprout that left a very deep impression on people. Knowing that the car had overturned in the original plot, Xiaozhi did not underestimate this Bellsprout. Commanding Primate to go up is a 5-shot lightning whip trained by him. As a result, Bellsprout couldn't even sustain the first blow of Primate and immediately lost his ability to fight. That's it. Xiaozhi looked at Hey Pai, whose face turned a little darker, and took Bellsprout back with narrowed eyes and couldn't help but complain in his heart. To be honest, if it were not for the mission reward, if rival is of this level, this kind of P1 fighting competition will be pretty boring. But think about it. It's just an entry-level fighting event in a small town. In the original plot, it was basically a blank slate. Attributes Xiaozhi and gang had just conquered it. Primeape, who had basically no training and no tacit understanding of cooperation, was able to win the championship. It's amazing how strong rival can be. But then again, I haven't been able to win a championship in this low-level competition for more than 10 years. Anthony is too much of a loser. What's the point of trying to cultivate the violent monkeys in 5.2? SSR can even give him useless cards. Game after game continues. Xiaozhi and Primeape are like Orbird tanks. Not surprisingly, he smashed the enemy's stroller into pieces and successfully advanced to the finals. The rival in the finals was surprisingly Anthony. Xiaozhi thought that this old guy would be eliminated by others before he could make it to the finals. At this time, Anthony, who had already reached the highest stage of his life, felt that his dream was about to come true. Win the P1 Fighting Competition Championship and start the road to fighting competition, starting with that hateful Pikachu boy. At this time, Anthony felt that he had been helped by a god all the way through the game, just like the hero was born as normal. Looking at Xiaozhi and Primeape as rival, I smiled confidently. I decided to win a championship to show my wife and daughter that he is talented. What is Rookie? A talented fighter. Tactical fallback. JPG. Chapter 88. Crazy, is this rookie trainer? At this time, other contestants who had excluded Xiaozhi and Anthony from competing in Rival put on masks of pain. Good guy. The clown is actually myself. JPG. Then he looked at the other people around him who had also been eliminated. I couldn't help but feel a little more balanced. It turns out we are all clowns. JPG. After discovering that they were not the only ones who were the clowns, they also surrendered and began to watch the battle seriously without emotion. What's more, he was calculating the winning rates of Anthony and Xiaozhi in his mind. Overall, Anthony is 7-3. Anthony has participated in the P1 fighting competition for more than 10 years, although this is the first time he has reached the finals. That also has rich competition experience. Many of the rivals he eliminated before fell to this point. In comparison, Xiaozhi seems less stable. It was my first time to travel to participate in this kind of competition and reach the finals. I must be extremely excited. When the emotions are aroused, the conductor is prone to problems. Anthony, who has a vicious eye and a sophisticated eye, seizes the opportunity to counterattack. Of course, it is not impossible to beat the teacher to death with random punches. So in their minds, Xiaozhi's chance of winning was 30%. Hitmonchan, this is the first time we have reached this position. We must win. Abby, in the field, Anthony and his Hitmonchan started an affectionate conversation. With that look, he probably has never been so affectionate to his wife. This made Xiaozhi, who was facing him with his arms folded and his eyes calm and unruffled, feel inexplicably that he was the villain's boss. The protagonist and his Pokemon in front of him encourage each other, turn on the aura of courage, and prepare to counterattack and challenge him as the boss. What kind of old-age hot-blooded show is this? However, the old-age hot-blooded drama obviously does not hold true here in Xiaozhi. In terms of character and appearance, Anthony doesn't fit the bill. They talked passionately for a long time, but in the end, they only had time to make a gesture on the court. Xiaozhi commanded Primeape to attack with a brick break, which knocked him out of combat. Pokemon. Primeape, level 29, V30 defeat this 428 Hitmonchan, plus the other rivals that were instantly killed before. And the combat experience after leveling up to 429 in the previous 3 days has overflowed. Primeape was directly upgraded to LV30, crossing the threshold of elite-level Pokemon. At this point, he is considered a little master. Most of the Earl Dervish Pokemon received by trainers from Alliance basically reach this level after traveling for more than a year or even 2 years. This is the third Imperial family whose qualifications are generally guaranteed. If it's a Pokemon captured by a trainer like Bugcatcher, let alone 1 or 2 years, even 10 or 20 years, you may not be able to reach 430 and enter the elite level. In addition to qualification issues that limit their upper limit, low qualifications reduce the efficiency of acquiring combat experience. It is also an important factor in the difficulty of upgrading. Take the Pokemon with general elite potential in Xiaozhi's hands, As an example, you may fight Pokemon of the same level a few times, and the battle experience gained after winning can allow them to naturally advance to the next level. As for Pokemon with elite/gym potential, the number of battles may increase to 20 or 30 games. As for those novice/normal potential Pokemon, this number may increase to several hundred. What's even more embarrassing is that the qualifications are not good enough. At the same level, they are weaker in all aspects than Pokemon with lower qualifications and good breeder. As a result, their winning rate is low. In this case, upgrading will be even more difficult. Therefore, if you want to become an excellent Pokemon trainer, it is particularly important to have a vision for conquering Pokemon. Otherwise, after spending countless time, energy, and even money, breeder will end up with a piece of mud that cannot hold up the wall. How many times will it collapse? Of course, if you are lucky enough, you can catch those rare high-potential Pokemon casually, which is a complete white-faced European king. It doesn't matter if your eyesight is good or not. For example, Xiaozhi in the original plot. I don't take Pokemon seriously either. I basically just go along with it or pick up the ones that others don't want. As a result, the talents and qualifications are all outstanding, so don't show too much. This is the result of Xiaozhi not taking breeder seriously in the original plot. I declare that the winner of this P1 fighting competition is Xiaozhi from Pallet Town and his Primeape. The referee announced the result of the battle. Soon, someone came forward with a golden belt symbolizing the championship and put it on Primeape. Although it is not a prop produced by the system, it is just a look-alike without any attribute. But after Primeape put on the gold belt, he inexplicably felt a little more powerful. It seems that the gold belt comes with the ability to be overconfident. Competitive competition, winner takes all. Xiaozhi and Primeape suddenly became the center of attention, especially Primeape, who actually hit the opponent with a brick break before he took action, knocking him out of combat. It even made many people who had previously expected Anthony and Xiaozhi 73 to be disappointed. His words were full of shocking praise for Primeape and Xiaozhi. As for Anthony and his Hitmonchan, who were the losers, no one cared. No one will remember the runner-up, unless you're the runner-up for 6 consecutive years. Are you right, Jay Cho? Obviously, a brat like Anthony cannot reach Jay Cho's level. In fact, after struggling for more than 10 years, the runner-up he won after losing to Xiaozhi was already the best honor he had ever received. It's a pity that I want to participate in P2 or even higher level fighting events. Winning a P1 championship is a guarantee, and even the gold content of just one P1 championship is a bit low. After all, it's just an event that any small town can hold once a year. Anthony's runner-up performance sounded good. It also broke his personal best in history, but it was of no use. Xiaozhi and Primeape accepted the championship photo together, during which they secretly took a look at Primeape's gold belt. Very disappointing. The gold belt is just a cosmetic, it just looks shiny on the outside. I didn't even want to apply a layer of gold powder, so I just applied a layer of paint. Xiaozhi couldn't help but secretly sigh at how tough the P1 fighting competition was. Xiaozhi, is that right? I think your Primeape has a very good talent in fighting events. I remember you told me before that your goal is to become a Pokemon master. This is a dream that requires all your energy. As a trainer who specializes in fighting events, I don't want the talent of Hua, winning king, to be wasted. That would be such a pity and unfair to it. For the future of Primeape, Xiaozhi, can you leave it to me to train? I promise to make Primeape famous in fighting events and become the most watched celebrity. At this time, I felt that there was nothing wrong with me. It was all held back by my potential talent, normal Hitmonchan. It was then that Anthony, who had failed to make any mark in the fighting competition, was keenly aware of how special Xiaozhi's Primeape was. Immediately, some crooked thoughts came into play. Xiaozhi looks young. He has just traveled, and his mind must be immature. In addition, he uses moral kidnapping for Primeape's good. Even if the two of them had had a dispute before, when he took the initiative to show his kindness, isn't it reasonable to put aside the past grudges and leave Primeape to him for training? Anthony tried to control his gaze so as not to look too greedy. But it's like I'm thinking about you and thinking about you. After he finished speaking, Xiaozhi took out the hand that was in his pocket and wrapped around the Pokédex. Chapter 89. Refusal to send Primeape. Anthony goes to jail. High-quality Nidoran just when I directed Primeape to defeat Anthony Hitmonchan and win the P1 fighting competition. Xiaozhi discovered that the Primeape-related tasks in the task panel were still in the unfinished gray contest condition. The championship has been won, and the gold belt has been worn by Primeape. The only problem is to teach Anthony a lesson. Sure enough, he was too kind and didn't deal harshly with Anthony, an old guy. So much so that they failed to complete the task requirements. Xiaozhi was just thinking about how to complete the task when he saw Anthony approaching shamelessly. Because he knew the other party's criminal record in the original plot, Xiaozhi was always prepared. Immediately, the recording function of the Pokemon Pokédex was turned on, and what the other party just said was completely recorded, although it cannot be used as direct evidence. Anyone with a discerning eye only needs to know that Anthony did not hesitate to abandon his wife and daughter in order to win the P1 fighting competition championship. Let's look at the outstanding talent potential of Xiaozhi Primeape. Naturally, he knew what the other party said just now. I won't say it's true, but it's enough to have this suspicion. If you put a hat on with the intention of deceiving other people's Pokemon, don't even think about taking it off again. If you dare to deceive other people's highly qualified Pokemon to benefit yourself, you'll have to pay the price for your impulsive behavior. Xiaozhi was angry at the other party before, just because of the disgusting and sexy actions in the other party's original plot. If he hadn't asked for Primeape this time and hadn't offended Xiaozhi, Xiaozhi didn't insist on punishing him to the end. To be honest, before asking Xiaozhi for Primeape, the only thing Anthony is criticized for is that his strength is rubbish. Another person who can't recognize the gap between his talent and his dreams is showing off his wife and daughter. It's just a lack of personal ability and morality, and it doesn't involve a crime. After all, it's just their family matter. No matter what happens, Xiaozhi will never be sent to jail. But now that I have opened my mouth, Of course, Xiaozhi had no reason to let him go. Adults have to pay the price for their choices. If the person standing here today was not him, but the stupid thing in the original plot, maybe I would have foolishly given him Primeape. Anthony then enjoyed the money, honor, and social status that the highly qualified Primeape brought him, while secretly cursing Xiaozhi for being an idiot. As for Anthony's wife and daughter's sake, should we let him live and be merciful? Xiaozhi has no idea at all. He's not a fan of Madam. You don't want your husband to be in trouble, do you? Maybe after sending Anthony to the police, the mother and daughter can let go of their expectations for Anthony, and their lives will be better. Of course, before sending Anthony to the police station, there were some things he was holding back in his heart that he couldn't say out loud. Xiaozhi was about to reply, but Misty came online. Misty saw Xiaozhi finishing taking photos and was about to come up to share Xiaozhi's joy. Just listen to Anthony's shameless and outrageous moral kidnapping and deception. It became popular immediately. Xiaozhi is her boyfriend, and she actually pulls this little trick on Xiaozhi. Do you think Misty is a jobber? He immediately transformed into a Zon Mother Hunter and dealt a heavy blow to Anthony. To be honest, I don't blame Misty for scolding her harshly. What is his identity and status? I don't know how much I weigh. After struggling for so many years, I haven't even figured out a P1 fighting event. He dared to ask Xiaozhi for Primeape, whose potential even she, the future Cerulean gym leader, would envy. His face is thicker than the city wall. If anything else is put in Xiaozhi's hands, Primeape's talent will be wasted, and Primeape is reluctant to be buried. If I really give you a high-potential Pokemon and you play it well, will breeder come? The higher the potential of the Pokemon, the more careful you need to breed it. It's completely different from regular Pokemon. A bad one can even make a high-potential Pokemon perform worse than some low-potential ones. To use the words from Xiaozhi's horse theory in his previous life, it goes like this. Therefore, although they're Norman horses, they're not full of food, have insufficient strength, and their talents and beauty are not shown. And if you want to be like ordinary horses, they are not available, so you could be a Norman horse. Also, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander are 3 Pokemon with high potential. The reason why I was abandoned by Trainer was that I finally met Xiaozhi. It's not because the previous trainer didn't understand Breeder, failed to discover their outstanding points, and mistook them for Xiaozhi with low potential. And Anthony couldn't even completely Breeder an ordinary Hitmonchan. It can be seen that his ability is very worrying. Putting Primeape in his hands is really ruining Primeape. In the original plot, there's been no news since Primeape was handed over to him. It is estimated that at most he can only play in low-level fighting events such as P2 and P3, and his talent was wasted by Anthony. Otherwise, with Primeape's talent, if properly cultivated, he will definitely be able to make a name for himself in fighting events, to the extent that Xiaozhi and others will hear about him outside the circle. Anthony was stunned by Misty's angry rebuke. No, how did you, a beautiful girl, learn so many dirty words? The mother-in-law star is extremely high. Anthony subconsciously wanted to refute, but was completely led into Misty's rhythm. At this time, other spectators who had not yet had time to leave also noticed this. He also despises Anthony's sinister intentions. This man has such a heart. It's probably because I haven't won a championship in more than 10 years, and it's completely gone dark. Think about it. You can abandon your wife and daughter just for a small P1 fighting competition. It's no surprise that he does even more outrageous things. I just feel sorry for his wife and daughter. Misty, calm down and drink some water. Xiaozhi grabbed Misty, who was still trying to continue typing, took out a bottle of water from her bag, and handed it over. Misty drank some water to moisten her smoky throat. Xiaozhi, don't stop me. If I don't give him a clear explanation today and call him ABD, I won't call him Misty. I won't even dare to come up with ideas for you. Xiaozhi, you are so kind-hearted. Carefully and kindly. She looked like you are right, quietly called the police, and reported to the Fighting Association with his real name. The effect of his alliance reputation +5 was very good. Not long after, Officer Jenny and the staff of the Fighting Competition Association arrived at the scene. Xiaozhi provided the recording as evidence. Plus, there were other witnesses at the scene. Anthony was immediately identified as a vicious fraudster. Although he failed in the crime, he had to stay in jail for at least a year. The Fighting Competition Association also simply announced that he had been disqualified from participating in all fighting competitions. After that, he completely became a street rat and clown in the fighting world. The kind that Batman wouldn't even want to fight. When his daughter Rebecca saw that her father was about to be imprisoned, her throat surged and she wanted to intercede. Finally, he swallowed the words. It's just a year in jail, and I will be released after enduring it. And if you lose the qualification to participate in the fighting competition in the future, you should put your heart back into your family, right? Maybe this is a good thing. Ding, the mission is completed. Get the reward and sell the quality Nidoran. One clue, with Anthony being handcuffed away, the incident ended successfully. Xiaozhi's task completion prompt also sounded at the right time. Cool. He refused to give away Primeape, made the other party pay a heavy price, and received a system reward. Xiaozhi felt that his whole mind was clear. At this moment, countless Pokemon fans are realizing their dreams. Please call me Xiaoyi Master Ji. Thank you. Chapter 90. LV36 Charmeleon Evolve. The old Squirter is back. What are you doing? It turns out that Xiaozhi, you have been ready for a long time. I was worried that you would suffer a loss and scolded him regardless of his image. After the matter was resolved, Xiaozhi and Misty left the town and embarked on their journey again. Misty folded her arms, pouted her little mouth, and could hang a small oil can. Okay, Misty, even though you were scolding, you are quite cute. To put it bluntly, he is used to seeing Misty being sweet and docile in front of him, but occasionally he sees her being aggressive and has a different flavor. And to be honest, Misty is quite cute when she is domineering and protecting her husband, and her little mouth is constantly outputting. Of course, it was cuter when Xiaozhi held his head down and looked up at him pitifully, asking if he was okay. But there is no need to tell outsiders about this. Xiaozhi can just know it himself. That's more like it. If you dare to dislike me for being aggressive, I will ignore you for a day, no, for a long time. Misty was very satisfied with Xiaozhi's answer and hummed. Xiaokio's chin was slightly raised, her arms naturally held Xiaozhi's arms, and her steps seemed much brisker. Of course, you are doing this for me. If I still dislike you, wouldn't it be very heartless? Be a human being, not very Anthony. While Xiaozhi27 was talking, he did not forget to diss Anthony, who had already put on a limited edition silver bracelet and had dinner with Alliance. Uffed, Xiaozhi, it's a good thing you didn't let Anthony hear what you said. Otherwise, he would be so angry that he would vomit blood. System. Using high-quality Nidoran clues. While moving forward, Xiaozhi thought silently in his mind and used the high-quality Nidoran clue information obtained from completing the Primeape 1 fighting competition mission. Same as before with the Golden Magikarp and Flash Horsia clues. A pale golden illusory arrow appeared in front of Xiaozhi that only he could see, and the arrow extended into the distance. He took out the map and looked at the direction pointed by his head, which seemed to be the Black Cloud coin. Xiaozhi was instantly happy. Yes, it seems that this is the rhythm of conquering two poisonous main pets at once. Nidoran's final evolved form, Nidoking, and Mook species strength are not low, reaching 505 and 500 respectively. Although there is still a certain gap compared to Usangia, to be honest, the gap is not very big. Among all poison-type Pokemon, it is already at the top. Not only species strength, but also individual talents are guaranteed. One is that it is of high quality recognized by the system, and the other is that it has experienced actual combat testing at many critical moments in the original plot. This talent is guaranteed to be elite. If you pick it up, you will earn it. Ding! Trigger the mission. Please help solve the problem of the power plant in Heiyun City and conquer Mook, the boss of the Grimer group. Reward for completing the mission. Top quality Moonstone 1. Pokemon evolved using top-quality Moonstones have better individual qualities than Pokemon evolved using ordinary Moonstones in all aspects. And there is a lower probability of obtaining special changes. Mook's exclusive prop, Magical Perfume, which can be used to shield one's own odor and toxins in the body freely after being carried, and can be opened when needed. Xiaozhi, who had already made up his mind to go to Heiyun City to conquer Mook, seemed to move a little faster when he saw that there was such a rich mission reward. Isn't the ultimate Moonstone prepared for Nidoran, whom he is about to conquer? Nidoran, as long as the level is high enough, it can naturally evolve into Nidorino. If Nidorino wants to complete the second stage of evolution and become Nidoking, he needs to use the Moonstone. Normal trainer Nidorino uses Moonstone of ordinary quality, priced around 10,000 Alliance coins. For those who are a little more ambitious, use the mid-grade Moonstone. It's the kind that the Clefairy gave to Xiaozhi and his party when they were at MT Moon. Pokemon evolved using higher quality Moonstones are naturally much better than lower quality Moonstones. After all, the price difference between ordinary quality Moonstone and higher quality Moonstone is not for nothing. And more importantly, even if the Moonstone used for evolution is not particularly advanced, at least don't hold back Pokemon qualifications. A highly qualified Pokemon, if it chooses the most common Moonstone evolution, although it can evolve successfully, it is obvious that an ordinary quality stone cannot support its perfect evolution. Potential will have a certain impact, more or less, and solve the power outage problem of Heiyun City Power Plant and capture the best Moonstone rewarded by Mook. Simply tailor-made for Nidoran. As a high-quality Pokemon recognized by the system, the Moonstone used when evolving Nidoking is naturally of higher quality, the better. If there were no mission rewards, Xiaozhi originally planned to buy a high-grade Moonstone for the future evolution of Nidorino. He wouldn't dare to think about the top-quality Moonstone if it didn't rely on mission rewards. This simply won't happen on the market. Basically, as soon as it was dug up, it was internally digested by Alliance senior management and the big families. Even high-grade Moonstones rarely leak out, and every time they leak out, they are sold for extremely high prices. Xiaozhi also relied on his considerable wealth and Alliance reputation +5. Otherwise, don't even think about getting a high-grade Moonstone. Xiaozhi would naturally not think of using the high-grade Moonstone as a reward for the top-grade Moonstone. In addition to the relatively ordinary Moonstone, the best Moonstone enhances the individual quality of Pokemon. There is actually an additional effect of special changes in probability. This makes Xiaozhi even more satisfied. And the other reward for completing the mission is not bad either. If the top quality moonstone is tailor-made for Nidoran, the magical prop perfume is clearly written to be exclusive to smelly 820 mud. As long as you carry the magic perfume, Mook can freely choose to block his own odor and toxins. Turn on when needed. This isn't the same as being a stinking Mook when he goes into battle. Will he turn into a piece of plasticine that is harmless to humans and animals after the game and can be rounded and flattened? Xiaozhi still doesn't know how effective the magical perfume will be after carrying it. But if Professor Oak from the original plot knew about it, he would burst into tears. God knows how many times he was knocked out by Mook and put on the spot. Charmeleon, give it the final flamethrower to finish it off. Although I was anxious to complete the mission, I met a wild Pokemon suitable for leveling on the way. Xiaozhi will still stop to level up Charmeleon, who is currently in need of leveling up to gain some combat experience. On this day, Xiaozhi had just commanded Charmeleon to defeat a Bellisum. See Charmeleon's body bursting with dazzling light of evolution. Pokemon, Charmeleon level for 35, LV 36. This is going to evolve? The old spray is back. Even though it's not the first time I've seen evolution, the old spray is a special one after all. Xiaozhi looked at this scene, and his heart was filled with excitement. Picture, why spray? Chapter 91. Charizard's red and purple tail flames. Terrifying temperature, I wonder what the evolved old spray will look like. It certainly won't look as thin as the hasty evolution in the original work, right? Looking at Charmeleon shrouded in the light of evolution, Xiaozhi couldn't help but think, accompanied by Xiaozhi's ups and downs of excitement. The light of evolution gradually dissipated, and then the Japanese-haired Charizard appeared in front of Xiaozhi, Misty, and Pikachu. High, very high. Charizard is more than 2 heads taller than the normal-sized Charizard. The increase in body size does not make Charizard look bulky, but instead looks extremely strong. The limbs are strong, and even the claws are not as thin as the normal Charizard, but are full of power. The color of the whole body is very healthy, and it can be seen that it has been carefully cared for and cultivated. The most eye-catching thing is the flame on Charizard's tail. The tail flame that represents Charizard's vitality is burning brightly. It is more than a circle larger than the normal Charizard's tail flame, and the color is also slightly different. The normal Charizard is orange-red, but the old one is red and purple. The crimson tail flame was mixed with a hint of dark purple that was not easy to detect. As the fireworks swayed, it actually seemed a bit breathtaking. Not only that, the temperature of the tail flame is also very scary. The air near Charizard's tail flame became distorted, even though it was 10 meters away. Xiaozhi, Misty, and the two could still feel the heat waves coming from Charizard's tail. Good guy, if you summon Charizard in winter and put it in the house, you won't even need a stove or heater. Pikachu saw Charmeleon successfully evolved into Charizard and happily stepped forward to say hello to Charizard. But because he was too close to Charizard and the temperature was too high, he was sweating all over. The wet hair clung to his body, making him look a bit embarrassed. Roar! Charizard was embarrassed and wanted to control it a little, but found that yipping couldn't do it. The flame at the tail symbolizes its vitality, which is not something it can control if it wants to. Charizard, congratulations! Xiaozhi also stepped forward and patted Charizard on the shoulder, with a thought in his mind. Psychic forms an invisible spherical barrier, locking Charizard's tail flame firmly in the barrier. The burning feeling that approaching Charizard was like approaching a fireball normal suddenly disappeared. Roar! Seeing that the matter was resolved, Charizard swung his tail happily. To be honest, if the temperature of the tail flame is too high, it will also cause trouble to it to a certain extent. Being close to it is like being close to a stove. If things go on like this, no Pokemon will be willing to get close to it. And it's not convenient to fly with Xiaozhi in the sky. Psychic is so useful. Misty looked at Xiaozhi enviously. Almost all trivial matters encountered during the journey can be solved with Xiaozhi Psychic. Even some seemingly difficult problems are also very easy in front of Psychic. Just like her Psyduck, without Xiaozhi Psychic to help temporarily relieve Li's mental oppression. No matter how powerful your talent is, it is difficult to use it in Pokemon battles. After all, it's not always lucky that rival hit Psyduck in the head. While not defeating Psyduck directly, he also stimulated Psyduck's confusion through severe pain. To be honest, the probability is too low. It's no different than gambling. Although Xiaozhi's Psychic cannot completely solve Psyduck's problem for the time being, but at least it allows Psyduck to return to normal when he needs to fight or train. During this time, with Xiaozhi's help, Psyduck also gradually began to participate in training and fighting wild Pokemon, and his level was slowly improving. But now that the Charizard tail flame is too hot, ordinary people are definitely helpless. Even because of this problem, Charizard gradually became isolated in the team. But for Xiaozhi, who has Psychic, there is no problem at all. Undecided Psychic. Psychic is convenient and powerful, and its help for trainers is almost all around. Fortunately, there is a high probability that my future children will be born at the starting line. At this time, Misty remembered something Xiaozhi had said before, and her cheeks turned slightly red. Pokemon, Charizard Potential, Championship level, for 36 ability, Fire skills, Flamethrower, Flame Vortex, Dragon Claw, Seismic Toss, Fire Abyss, Flare Blitz, etc. Intimacy, 255, Full value, 255, items carried. The best Charcoal, Fire-type skill power increased by 50% powerful. All I can say is that I am worthy of being an old spray. Master all the skills Charizard can learn by leveling up as soon as he evolves. It also includes the Fire Abyss and Flare Blitz that can only be mastered at the Quasi-Elite or even Elite stages. This is something that none of the old trolls in the original plot were able to do. This is due to the exclusive tempering of Charmander that Xiaozhi used on it before, and the breeder manual that was rewarded by missions for training. Charizard, do you see that clearing over there? Use Flamethrower on it. After checking Charizard panel information, Xiaozhi focused on Charizard's tail flame, whose temperature was obviously abnormal. I plan to try Charizard's current flame power. Oh, it is different from the original plot that just evolved and ignored Xiaozhi's command. Charizard is very obedient now, completely unlike his unruly appearance in the original plot. After hearing Xiaozhi's command, without hesitation, he opened his mouth and fired a flamethrower. The color of the flame is similar to its tail flame, red to purple, and the temperature is extremely terrifying. After a flamethrower passed by, the open space became scorched black to the naked eye, and some of the sand on it even appeared to crystallize. If someone takes a bite of this, it will be more than just a burn. With the physique of Xiaozhi Mega and Rookie, I dare not say that I can succeed. Charizard, let's try our strength again. To this stone, Dragon Claw. Xiaozhi is quite satisfied with the power of Charizard's flame skill. Then he looked at Charizard's body shape and size, which was obviously stronger than normal Charizard, and planned to test Charizard's strength and hand-to-hand combat ability. Boom! Charizard struck down the Dragon Claw with one move, and the solid rock immediately fell into pieces. Some gravel even turned into powder when it flew out. Liyuan's score. You must know that Charizard is a Pokemon with special attack. Compared with special attack, its physical attack is not too strong. In addition, the skills used are not of this attribute, so there is no bonus to the power. Even so, the damage caused by one move of Dragon Claw is still so considerable. If a claw hits a person, why should there be pieces here and there, a bag on the body and a bag on the mountain? Xiaozhi surrounded Charizard, touching left and right to see how satisfied he was. There's nothing to say about appearance or strength. With such a high appearance foundation, if you add Mega Evolution or Mega Enlargement, it becomes X Spray, Y Spray, and Excellent Spray. Doesn't this make Shuai confused? Moreover, Charizard still has an unfinished mission of being the world's mightiest Charizard. Complete the mission and receive a wave of Charizard's exclusive rewards. In the future, even if the old Spray faces a mythical beast with a priestly role, he will still be able to give it a try. Truly worthy of the title of world's mightiest Charizard. Picture X-Spray. Chapter 92. The level of all members has been improved. Are the abandoned monkeys ready? On the other side, Misty, who had a panoramic view of the scene when Xiaozhi and Charizard tried their moves, couldn't help but feel a little envious. A handsome and powerful Pokemon like Charizard, even if she specializes in water type, can't help but want to conquer or. But it was just a thought. If she really wanted to convince him, she might not be able to cultivate him. Not everyone can be as distracted as Xiaozhi to conquer so many attributed Pokemon, and yet each of them can be trained to be so outstanding. Normally, any trainer who has achieved success basically specializes in one or two attributes. Any more words would be too much to take into account. The reason is very simple, just like Xiaozhi's mathematical and chemical life in his previous life. Although they are all natural sciences, there are always major or minor differences between each subject and other subjects. The knowledge in each subject is immense. Normal people, even if they are geniuses, can only specialize in one or two subjects. The same goes for Pokemon Trainer. 130, like those famous elite champions, basically specializes in a certain attribute. For example, Lorelei of the Kanto region Elite Four specializes in Ice/Water type, and Dodo specializes in Flying Dragon type, Squinting Smile. Misty knew that her talent was good compared to ordinary trainers, but it was incomparable to a monster like Xiaozhi. It would be nice to be able to specialize in Water type, but if you were distracted, Breeder is a Fire-type Pokemon that is completely opposite to Water type. Totally thankless. And not every Charizard is as powerful and handsome as the one Xiaozhi conquered. Xiaozhi is just a special case. Water-type Pokemon is a big family, and there are some that can rival Charizard. Gyarados isn't bad. Although he looks scary, it's not because of Tion. On the contrary, it looks quite mighty and domineering. She happened to have a secret manual on how to cultivate Gyarados at home, and she was used to seeing the 13-meter-long Flash Gyarados held by Xiaozhi. When I look back at those ordinary Gyarados that are more than 6 meters long, I no longer have the same psychological shadow as before. When the time comes, grab a Magikarp with good talent and bring it to Breeder. With some special methods secretly passed down in the family, the probability of successfully evolving it is still high. Once you evolve into Gyarados, the next breeder process will undoubtedly be much less troublesome. And who said that only Fire-type Pokemon can use Flamethrower? Their breeder's Gyarados can still be used. Misty buried her envy deep in her heart and decided to breed a Gyarados if she had the chance in the future. As for what opportunity? Naturally, it depends on when the high-quality Magikarp can be conquered. She doesn't have high expectations and doesn't expect to be as strong as Xiaozhi's original Golden Magikarp, or something slightly worse. I tried Charizard's skills and rode it with Misty and Pikachu to fly around in the sky for a few times. Xiaozhi and his party then set off for Heiyun City. What can I say about Charizard's riding experience? Although it's pretty good, it's still a little worse than Baidiao. And the speed is also slightly inferior. But this is within Xiaozhi's acceptance range. Baijiao relies on speed, while Charizard plays with fire. Although both can fly, obviously they cannot be compared on the same track. In fact, Xiaozhi Charizard's speed is already quite impressive. It can reach Mach 1.8 when carrying people, and it has no load during combat, easily exceeding the 2 Mach of ordinary Baidiao. It was only when he encountered Baijiao, who was equally perverted and far superior to his own race, that he seemed inferior. 2.5 days later, Xiaozhi and his party stopped in front of a forest covering a small area on the outskirts of Heiyun City. According to the location pointed by the arrow, the high-quality Nidoran should be here. Looking at the small forest in front of him, Xiaozhi thought to himself, I plan to go in and conquer Nidoran first, and then go to Heiyun City not far away. In the past 2.5 days after leveling up and hard training, the level of the Pokemon in the team has also improved slightly. Not to mention LV61, Ghastly. At this level, farming those wild Pokemon is basically useless, unless fighting against elite-level rival. Pikachu hit an intermediate rare candy in Vermilion City and reached this point after reaching IV50. Finally accumulated enough combat experience, raised to 51. Other Pokemon have also been more or less upgraded by 1-2 levels. In addition to fighting wild Pokemon, Xiaozhi also developed a reasonable and healthy exercise method for them, which also accumulated a lot of experience for them. Otherwise, it's not that easy to upgrade. Although there are many wild Pokemon, their levels are generally not high, and the combat experience gained from defeating them is actually very little. Pokemon Charizard level 436, LV38. Pokemon Bulbasaur level 436, LV37. Pokemon Flash Gyarados level 445, LV46. Pokemon Pidgeot level IT$39. IV40. The one that has improved the most is Primeape, which has been upgraded by a full 4 levels, reaching 34. But what makes Xiaozhi a little regretful is that it was not able to learn the Fist of Rage in advance. This means that it will take some time before the next evolution of Primeape. The dark and misanthropic style of Primeape's final evolve abandoned monkey is quite impressive, and species strength has received a big boost. A total of 535 points, and the attack species strength as the main attribute reached 115 points. Coupled with the unyielding ability, every time other abilities decrease, the attack power will increase by 2 levels. A real mega output player. If some poisonous buffs are superimposed in advance, 10 children can be punched in one punch without being too strong. Misty, let's go into the woods and take a look. After suppressing the thoughts in his mind, Xiaozhi turned to look at Misty beside him and suggested, "Okay." Misty nodded in agreement without thinking, because both of them want to increase the battle level of their Pokemon. It has become their norm to enter the woods where wild Pokemon are suspected to be living. Misty didn't know that Xiaozhi was looking for high-quality Nidoran. I just subconsciously thought that I would go out and fight wild Pokemon like before. He even took out the baby ball and released Psyduck. Ever since she knew how outstanding Psyduck was, she had devoted a lot of energy to Psyduck. "Xiaozhi, please." Misty put her hands together and made a gesture of please to Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi nodded, knowing that Misty had misunderstood that he wanted to go into the woods to level up. "I want 5.8 to help ease Confusion's mental oppression on Psyduck, so that Psyduck can also participate." He was happy to see Misty's misunderstanding come to fruition and did not explain it verbally. How the main high-quality Nidoran clue came about is unexplained. You can't say he's dead. Just let Misty misunderstand. It's not a bad idea to level up while conquering Nidoran. There are too many Pokemon to cultivate in the team. No matter how small the mosquito legs are, they're still meat. With a thought, a psychic attached to Psyduck's head, guiding its own confusion. Then, Psyduck's dull eyes became a little smarter. Although due to race issues, it is still a bit dull and not as smart as the normal Pokemon. But at least the combat instructions are understandable. Prepared, Xiaozhi and his party entered the woods. Picture Xiaozhi's Red Gyarados. Chapter 93. Capture of Nidoran. Flash Gyarados fierce flames the entire grove, which covers an area of about 10 square kilometers, is basically occupied by 2 ethnic groups, Nidoran and Nidoran. There are few other Pokemon. Among them, the Nidoran group is ruled by a dozen Nidokings, and the Nidoran group is ruled by a dozen Nidoqueen. The system provides clues that the Nidoran that Xiaozhi wants to capture is the descendant of the strongest Nidoking in the tribe. At this time, little Nidoran was practicing special moves with his father. "Xiaozhi, why are there so many Nidoking and Nidoqueen here?" In a bush, Misty looked through the gaps in the branches and leaves at the Nidoran, members of the Nidoran family living in the open space in front of them, as well as the Nidoking and Nidoqueen. The 2 groups combined totaled more than 30 people. Couldn't help but ask Xiaozhi. This small forest is close to Heiyun City. Normally, there shouldn't be so many wild Pokemon living. Even if there were, the level wouldn't be that high. It's really puzzling. I think it may be because of the special fruit trees in this forest. Another reason is that this forest has scattered moonstone resources. Xiaozhi gave his own guess. After hearing Xiaozhi's explanation, Misty 587 remembered. After entering the woods, they often saw strange dark purple fruits growing on some trees. Perhaps the reason why the Nidoran and Nidoran families in this grove are so prosperous is related to this fruit. This should be a tree fruit that is beneficial to the growth of poison-type Pokemon. The body colors of these Nidoran Nidoran are darker than those they have seen before. Okay, Misty, have you seen the Nidoran following the biggest Nidoking over there? I'm going to conquer it. Misty, take a closer look. Is there any Nidoran you like here? Have you considered taming one with me? Upon hearing Xiaozhi's suggestion, Misty's heart moved subconsciously. Because of the deep purple berries, the Nidoran and Doran living in the entire forest look quite healthy. I think the quality should be the same. If you choose carefully among them, you might not be able to pick one that can be the main Pokemon breeder. But after thinking for a moment, Misty shook her head and had no intention of recovering a Nidoran. She has limited energy, so she can do just fine by specializing in breeder water-type Pokemon. Nidoran is a poison type. No matter how good he is not her cup of tea. And like other trainers, it's not her style to be happy with the hunter's heart and leave it in the backyard after conquering it. Doing so is also irresponsible to Pokemon. It is better to let it grow happily in the wild. It's better not to give in. Xiaozhi didn't seem surprised when Misty rejected his proposal. Misty really doesn't have that much energy and talent when it comes to breeders' other attribute Pokemon. In addition, her personality is one of taking responsibility once she subdues Pokemon. So it makes sense that she would not subdue Pokemon easily. He just asked out of concern. After all, the quality of Nidoran and Nidoran here is really good. From his point of view, except for the Nidoran he was interested in, it was of unique quality. Further down, there are actually several who can be conquered as the main gym leader or the second team breeder. This has already reached Misty's subjugation standard. But since Misty doesn't have this idea, forget it. As for Xiaozhi, he only plans to conquer the Nidoran with the best quality. As for the rest, just stay here and wait for the destined trainer. Except for those who were conquered or left with regrets in the original plot. Xiaozhi plans to keep improving on other Pokemon that he has conquered many times. He really doesn't have the energy to cultivate too many Pokemon. I don't know how many there are already and how many will be captured in the future. There are just over 10 Nidoran who can only be trained as the main force/second team of the gym. He said something about Versailles, but he really didn't take it seriously. As for seizing and selling them for money, I have no idea. Firstly, it is illegal, and secondly, he is not sure of money, so there is no need to waste these two things. I quietly checked the levels of Nidoking and Nidoqueen. Xiaozhi was sure that there was no one he couldn't afford to offend. The tallest Nidoking leader is only V43, the Nidoqueen leader is only LV42, and the rest are not even IV40. Xiaozhi jumped up decisively, released Ghastly, and let him hide in the shadows for cover. Then he stepped forward and pointed to the leader, Nidoking, and the Nidoran beside him. Nidoking, I want to tame this Nidoran and take it on a journey with me. Nido, when the leader Nidoking heard this, he was furious that this human trainer wanted to subdue his child in front of him. You simply don't take it seriously. It seems we still have to fight. Come out, Gyarados. Xiaozhi took out the baby ball and released Flash Gyarados. With a primary affinity, Aura, many wild Pokemon he encountered before wanted to take the initiative to travel with him. But because Xiaozhi's requirements were too high, he didn't accept it. He thought he could convince Nidoking with his mouth escape. But a better fight, so many Nidoking Nidoqueen. Beat them all once, and you will definitely gain a lot of combat experience. Roar, Flash Gyarados, came out of the Pokemon ball and let out a roar. The body, which is more than 10 meters long, makes it look full of oppression. Nidoking, who was originally considered a big guy among Pokemon, became a tiny one in front of Flash Gyarados. When Flash Gyarados looked down at it, it was like an adult looking at a baby. Nido, the moment I saw Flash Gyarados, the entire Nidoking Pokemon felt a little bad. Its proud size is nothing compared to Flash Gyarados. In addition to being huge in size, Flash Gyarados also brings a considerable sense of crisis to it. Obviously, Flash Gyarados' strength far exceeds it. At this moment, Nidoking doesn't care about martial ethics and decisively shakes people. At one time, more than 30 Nidoking and Nidoqueen charged together with it. The ground was shaken, the sky was filled with dust, and the trees blocking the road were broken by them. Pokemon, Gyarados, Flash Color, Level 446 ability, Overconfidence potential, elite level skills. Hydro Pump, Hurricane, Waterfall, etc. Intimacy, 255. Full value, 255. Items carried. The best Mystic Water, Water-type skill effect plus 50%. Faced with the terrifying posture of more than 30 Nidokings charging in groups. Even Flash Gyarados, who had been so fierce before, seemed to be at a disadvantage. However, this is not the case. Xiaozhi's commanding voice was still calm and calm. Gyarados, Rain Dance, Twister, Chapter 94, Limited Time Mission. Capture Zapdos. Facing the swarm charge of Nidoking/Nidoqueen. Xiaozhi came up and directed Flash Gyarados to perform a set of silky little combos. Different moves and skills can often produce good results when combined together. It's just that few Pokemon can do it. Talent potential, it is not easy for a normal Pokemon to master its skills proficiently. Not to mention combining skills to create wonderful effects. And Xiaozhi's Pokemon is obviously passable in terms of talent. Therefore, combo speed and proficiency have always been one of the focuses of Xiaozhi's training. Except for the pre-skill Rain Dance, Whirlpool and Twister are both small skills with normal power. Therefore, Flash Gyarados can complete combos in a shorter time. At this time, Flash Gyarados was seen roaring up to the sky, and the originally sunny, soaring in the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds, and continuous torrential rain fell like a drum. The dry ground suddenly became muddy, and the momentum of the Nidoking/Nidoqueen's group charge could not help but slow down and stagnate. Taking advantage of this time, Gyarados condensed the rainwater falling from the Rain Dance, forming a water vortex nearly 100 meters in diameter. Trapped the densely packed Nidoking/Nidoqueen in the vortex of water flow. While trapping them, they caused damage. Then there is a Twister, which accelerates the rotation speed of the water vortex and causes damage again. Although Gyarados' special attack species strength is not very good, and he only uses Whirlpool and Twister with low power. But it can't stand up to Gyarados' high level, coupled with the bonus of the best Mystic Water and rainy weather. After this set of silky small combos, except for the IV-43 Nidoking and IV-42 Nidoqueen, they can still maintain some physical strength without losing their fighting ability. The others waited until Whirlpool passed, and all turned into mosquito-repellent incense. He fell to the muddy and slippery ground with a bang, one after another. After defeating so many rivals one after another, Flash Gyarados was overconfident. Every time he defeated a rival, his ability increased by one level. Directly maximized the attack level. It originally retained some of its physical strength, and its level was similar to that of Flash Gyarados. With the combined efforts of the two, they may not be able to compete with the Nidoking leader and the Nidoqueen leader. In front of Flash Gyarados at this time, he suddenly became a little Kurami. Under the command of Xiaozhi, Flash Gyarados performed a final waterfall, killing him instantly. At this point, more than 30 Nidoking and Nidoqueen from the two groups were defeated. This is a nightmare for Nidoran, multi-ethnic. At this time, Nidoran and Nidoran were trembling under the protection of Nidorino and Nidorina. Looking at the red Gyarados roaring up to the sky with fearful eyes, he felt that he was like a devil coming to the world. Nido, the Nidoran that Xiaozhi named to subdue, looked at its fearful kin. Then he looked at Flash Gyarados with admiration, like the devil normal, who easily defeated Flash Gyarados, who used to worship his father and mother, and came to Xiaozhi. The meaning is obvious. It is willing to travel with Xiaozhi. Quite a smart one. Xiaozhi nodded secretly, then picked up a blank Pokeball and knocked it gently on Nidoran. Pokemon, Nidoran Potential, Elite Level, IV-13 Ability, Sting Skills, Leer, Poison Barb, Focus Energy, etc. Intimacy, 255, Full Value 255, What to Carry? None. After conquering Nidoran, Xiaozhi looked at Nidoran's data panel. Seeing that the potential column clearly said Elite Level, he nodded with satisfaction. Ability Stinger is pretty good. When a contact move hits rival, there is a 30% chance of causing rival to enter the Poison Contest condition. Although it is not a hidden ability that increases attack power by 50% and reduces the hit rate of physical skills by 20%. At least Xiaozhi likes the fighting spirit of dog-licking ability, which is more powerful than the ability to fight the same SX, and the power to fight the opposite SX is reduced. However, Xiaozhi was a little surprised by the degree of intimacy. It reached 255 points just after he conquered it, combined with the adoring look Nidoran cast on Flash Gyarados just now. Xiaozhi guessed that the Nidoran he had conquered had a strong personality, seeing that he can breed powerful Pokemon like Flash Gyarados. While being subdued by taking the initiative to come to your door, it also directly increases the intimacy level. However, having a strong personality is not a bad thing. On the contrary, letting it see the gap between it and other Pokemon in the team can arouse its fighting spirit. After conquering Nidoran, Xiaozhi was in a good mood. In the horrified eyes of the remaining Nidoran, let Primeape, Bidiao, and Charizard brush Nidorino and Nidorina among their groups. Accumulate some combat experience. As for Nidoran, leave it alone. The level difference is too big and the combat experience gained is too little. Plus, I'm too lazy to waste time applying potion on them. Misty came here to wash the floor? No, to help with the potion. As a person who, although not much, is at least somewhat moral, after Xiaozhi gained battle experience with wild Pokemon, he was still very principled and would help them get to the Super Potion. Since there were no Sunny Day Pokemon in the team, Xiaozhi and Misty had no choice but to apply medicine to Nidoking in the mud. Fortunately, Xiaozhi mainly used Psychic, so it was not tiring for the two of them to work together, and there was no dirt or other dirty things stuck on them. Ding! Trigger the limited time mission. Please capture Zapdos, who is temporarily staying at the Heiyun City power plant within 24 hours. Reward for completing the mission: the prop electricity tower, which condenses strong electric current. After the Pokemon carries it, the power of electric-type skills will be plus 70%. The prop Sunny Day skill learning machine, unlimited times. A Pokemon that meets the requirements will automatically learn the skill Sunny Day after 2.5 hours with the skill learning machine. Pokemon that can use the Sunny Day skill learning machine in the current team: Charizard, Bulbasaur, Bidiao, Ghastly, Nidoran, Flash Gyarados. Primeape, Butterfree. Choose to keep the newly conquered Nidoran and let Bulbasaur be teleported back. Xiaozhi took Misty Pikachu and the others out of Nidoking Forest and headed towards Heiyun City. A piece of mission information passed through his mind, arousing Xiaozhi's interest. Limited time mission to conquer Zapdos? Be good. Although it is not the kind with a priestly role, in the eyes of the world, it is still a real divine beast. Oh my god, the beast man is actually me. Must take it. Even without mission rewards, Zapdos must be conquered. Unexpectedly, Zapdos was staying at the Heiyun City Power Station, but judging from the time limit of the mission, he will leave soon. In the original plot, Xiaozhi and his party did not meet each other. They probably arrived in Heiyun City after Zapdos left. With such excitement, Xiaozhi didn't even bother to walk. He released the Bai Jiao directly, pulled her onto the Bai Jiao under Misty's surprise gaze, and quickly headed towards the Heiyun City power plant. Picture, video, Chapter 95, Fighting Zapdos, spells Destiny Bond. What's wrong with Xiaozhi? Sitting on Bai Jiao's back, he was enveloped by the barrier supported by Xiaozhi's Psychic. Except for the small location, it's not much different from sitting on the ground. Misty asked Xiaozhi doubtfully. Although the riding function had been developed by the two of them long ago, when Bai Jiao first evolved. But because it requires training, fighting wild Pokemon, and accumulating combat experience, the two of them rarely rode on the Jiao. So Xiaozhi suddenly did so, which puzzled her. Misty, don't talk. You'll know later. Xiaozhi did not explain in words, but looked at the small dot in the distance quietly. As the distance gets closer, the small dots gradually become clearer, and the outline of the city can already be seen clearly. The power plant is located in a corner of Heiyun City. After Xiaozhi pointed out the direction, he started to compare the speed of the car. But within a breath, he was already around the power plant. Thank you for your hard work, Bai Jiao. pulling Misty Pikachu off by Diao's back. Xiaozhi put by Diao back into the baby ball. Then Psychic glanced at it. His eyes flashed slightly, and he stepped toward the Electrify Tower not far away. Misty Pikachu, who was confused, quickly followed. This Zapdos, the legendary Pokemon. When we were about 200 meters away from the Electrify Tower, we could already see Zapdos temporarily staying on the Electrify 27 tower when we looked up. Misty's beautiful eyes couldn't help but widen, filled with shock. She didn't expect that the legendary Pokemon Zapdos would actually appear in this power plant, and they happened to meet it. No, maybe not just right. Misty suddenly remembered what Xiaozhi did just now. I feel that even though the two of them have been honest with each other, even except for the last step, they have done a lot of other awkward things. Xiaozhi still gave her a feeling of being shrouded in fog. And this feeling is like a poisonous normal, which attracts her deeper and deeper into Xiaozhi, and she is inseparable from him. At this time, Misty, who remembered that Xiaozhi had taken a photo of Ho-Oh, secretly picked up the Pokemon Pokédex, intending to record this rare moment. Pikachu looked at Zapdos, standing proudly on the Electrify Tower. Knowing that the other party was one of the 3 sacred birds of the Kanto region, its eyes were full of longing, and there was a hint of otherness in its place. Pokemon, Zapdos level. For 65 at this time, Xiaozhi's attention was completely focused on Zapdos and did not notice the actions of Misty and Pikachu. 465 is still at the elite level. With Ghastly here, I can fight. If you reach the championship, you can only use traditional skills and use Lin to shake this super ancient Dragonite to fight for you. However, there's a drawback to doing this. Although the super ancient Dragonite has been with Xiaozhi, he is always available and responds to requests. But it's not Xiaozhi's own Pokemon. If you use the super ancient Dragonite to fight for you and conquer Zapdos, take Zapdos' pride as a Kori member of the 3 Sacred Bird clan in the Kanto region. It is estimated that he will be like the old troll in the original plot, not listening to orders. And it still has no emotional basis. Destroying the baby ball and defecting is not impossible. If you think about the worst, it might even come back to bite you. Of course, Xiaozhi, who can check the intimacy level through the attribute panel information, can easily avoid the worst result. After looking at the system space, there's still 5 Pokemon below IV-70 that can be used to upgrade the advanced rare candy to level 10. Xiaozhi plans to command Ghastly to try it first to see if he can successfully defeat Zapdos. It really didn't work, so I gave Ghastly drugs without considering cost-effectiveness. Pull the level to V66 and try again. Although the advanced rare candy is very bad when used on 461 Ghastly. But if I miss Zapdos this time, I don't know how long it will be before I meet again next time. Zapdos, the only priest on Shamudi Island, dare not Fury Swipes. Otherwise, it will cause weather abnormalities in the Pokemon world. 5 high-grade rare candy is precious though, but relatively speaking, Zapdos is better. After making up his mind, Xiaozhi released Ghastly and prepared to challenge Zapdos. Ghastly, look, say hello to each other. Xiaozhi directed Ghastly to use look to prevent Zapdos from leaving without catching them. Perched atop the Electrify Tower, Zapdos found himself being stared at with a dark and ominous gaze by Ghastly. It wanted to leave directly, but subconsciously wanted to teach Ghastly and Xiaozhi a lesson. There was a fierce cry and the wings flapped. The feathers rubbed together, emitting a crackling electric sound. Then a golden thunder struck Ghastly like a natural punishment. Thunder Shock, a less powerful electric-type skill, although I noticed that Ghastly is a Pokemon of the same level as it. But with its pride, Zapdos didn't take Ghastly seriously at all. I thought of giving Ghastly a lesson so that he could see how powerful he was and then leave the power plant. Are you looking down on yourself and Ghastly? Although it is inexplicably unpleasant, it plays into Xiaozhi's hands. When Xiaozhi saw Zapdos underestimating the enemy, the corners of Xiaozhi's lips curved up inadvertently. Ghastly, spell, Hypnosis plus Dream Eater. Zapdos took advantage of the fact that he underestimated the enemy and was not able to react so quickly. Xiaozhi quickly issued instructions in Ghastly's mind through psychic's telepathy. As one of the most mysterious attributes, Ghost-type skills are mostly weird, and spells are the best among them. The moment the spell was activated, half of Ghastly's physical strength was instantly emptied. As the recipient of the spell, Zapdos needs to bear the loss of 1/4 of his maximum physical strength every short period of time. As long as Ghastly delays it long enough, Zapdos can be defeated. After casting the spell, Hypnosis and Dream Eater followed. While causing damage to Zapdos, it also restores Ghastly's physical strength in proportion to the damage. Since Ghastly's physical strength is not very good, Rifa Dream Eater came down. He actually directly recovered half of the physical strength he had just lost. Waking up from a nightmare, the intense pain caused Zapdos to completely fiery wrap. Instead of using the tentative low-power Thunder Shock, the Electric-type Ultimate Move Thunder is used. A golden thunderbolt as thick as 2 people hugging a tree fell from the sky, and Jean was about to defeat Ends with one blow. Xiaozhi directed Ghastly to dodge again and again. Because Zapdos underestimated the enemy and was careless, he was already under Ghastly's spell. As long as you delay it long enough, this battle will be won easily. Of course, the effect is so terrifying, and the magic that can be called a weak victory over the strong also has its limitations. That is, the level of the party being cast cannot exceed the level of the caster by too much, otherwise the effect will be lost. Zapdos and Ghastly are both elite-level Pokemon. Even though there's a difference in level, it is not that big. At least it's not beyond the range of the spell. At this time, Misty and Pikachu were watching Xiaozhi direct the battle between Ends and Zapdos. My eyes couldn't help but widen, staring intently. At the same time, there was a storm in my heart. Xiaozhi, how dare he? That's so brave. When everyone was shocked, Zapdos and Ghastly, who was commanded by Xiaozhi, had already fought for several rounds. Although Ghastly is also very flexible, he is still much inferior to Zapdos. Although I tried my best to dodge, I still inevitably got hit several times. At this time, its figure is a bit illusory. Maybe if it makes one more move, it will be beaten and lose its ability to fight. The Zapdos in front of it had only experienced 2 spells and lost 1/2 of its maximum physical strength, plus those from Dream Eater that deal damage. Now contest condition actually remains at less than half. Judging from the current situation, Ghastly will never be able to delay the spell from taking effect twice. LV61 and 465. Low species strength and high species strength. There is still a gap between ordinary Pokemon and Pokemon from the mythical beast group. And it's huge. Even if you have trainer command, even if you use the ghost skills to the extreme, even if you have the first mover advantage, it can only be done to this extent. A trace of contempt flashed in Zapdos' sharp eyes, and his body's electricity condensed. It will take another full-power thunder to completely eliminate Ghastly. The moment before the golden thunderbolt as thick as a water tank was about to hit Ghastly, who no longer had the energy to dodge. Xiaozhi, who had been watching silently with his lips pursed, had a glint in his eyes. He didn't even bother to use telepathy to command because he shouted, "Now, Ghastly, Destiny Bond." Photo, Zapdos. Chapter 96. 1 for 1. Successfully conquered. When thunder is about to hit Ghastly, the battle will be completely over. Zapdos also relaxed its guard. At this moment, Ghastly, who had been following Xiaozhi's instructions, deliberately missed the fast-moving Zapdos. He used the last move, the most deadly Destiny Bond, and successfully hit the defenseless Zapdos. Boom! Thunder hit. Ghastly lost the ability to fight and fainted on the ground. Zapdos also lost his ability to fight under the influence of Destiny Bond. Both sides suffer. No, in a sense, it is a big victory for Xiaozhi and Ghastly. The weak defeated the strong to complete the counterattack against rival or a legendary Pokemon like Zapdos. Although the level is not ridiculously high, it is only one of the most common existences among the mythical beasts. But mythical beasts are mythical beasts. If the battle between Xiaozhi and Ghastly were revealed, it would be enough to shock the world. Thank you for your hard work, Ghastly. Ignoring Zapdos, who was unconscious and unable to fight on the ground, Xiaozhi took the lead in taking the great hero Ghastly back into the treasure ball. He gently rubbed Ghastly's baby ball with his fingers and said silently in his heart. After hanging Ghastly's baby ball back on his waist, Xiaozhi turned his attention to Shan Yuxue. Take out a blank baby ball and knock it gently on Zapdos. Zapdos' magical body suddenly turned into a red light and was contained in the treasure ball. It shook slightly twice and stopped. Elite level Zapdos get Pokemon. Zapdos ability. Sense of oppression level. For 65 potential. Championship level skills. Thunder Shock, Thunder, Thunder Wave, etc. Intimacy. 170. Full value 255. What to carry? None. Ability Sense of Oppression can bring huge pressure to the enemy Pokemon and may even prevent the opponent from releasing its skills. It is one of the common abilities among mythical beasts. The potential champion level is not the beast level, but it is not unexpected by Xiaozhi, and it is not a disappointment. Among all the 3 sacred birds, it is estimated that only the 3 with the priesthood of Shamudi Island are the real sacred beasts. The others basically bear the name of mythical beasts, but their strength is greatly reduced. In the original plot, those who were humiliated, subdued, captured, and even defeated in head-to-head combat by humans were basically this kind of thing. Although the performance of the genuine 3 silly birds was not much better, they were all caught by a mere collector. The skills are very comprehensive, and basically all the skills that can be learned in Zapdos have been learned. Intimacy Normal, which belongs to the normal intimacy level of Pokemon captured through battle. In the future, after getting along for a long time, it will be improved. Xiaozhi defeated it head-on in a 1v1 Pokemon battle. Even though he had the advantage of being the first player and underestimating the enemy, it was still within the tactical scope. This also makes Zapdos recognize the strength of Xiaozhi as a trainer, and there is no phenomenon of being disobedient after conquering him. It's just that the intimacy level is slightly lower than other Pokemon in the team, but it doesn't hurt. Anyway, it's not fixed all the time and can be improved. With the addition of Zapdos to the team, Xiaozhi also has 2 elite-level Pokemon in his team. Not to mention the super ancient Dragonite mentioned by PY. Xiaozhi is also a strong player in the Kanto region. Ding! The limited time mission is completed within 24 hours to conquer Zapdos at the Heiyun City Power Plant. Obtain mission reward. Prop Electric Tower 1. The tower contains abundant electricity. After the Pokemon is carried, the electric-type skill effect is increased by 70%. Props. Sunny Day Skill Learning Machine, unlimited times. Pokemon that meet the requirements can automatically learn the skill Sunny Day after carrying the learning machine for 2.5 hours. The Pokemon that can use the skill learning machine are Charizard, Bulbasaur, Flash Gyarados. The proper rewards have been placed in the system space and can be taken out at any time. Once taken out, they cannot be put back again. With the subjugation of Zapdos, the reminder of task completion also sounded in Xiaozhi's mind at the right time. Feeling comfortable, Xiaozhi conquered Zapdos and obtained 2 precious props by completing tasks. It feels as good as drinking a bottle of ice Coke on a hot day. Xiaozhi, you defeated Zapdos and subdued it. At this time, Misty moved her body, grabbed Xiaozhi's sleeve, and stammered. The words were full of disbelief. At this moment, Misty felt like she was in a dream. Everything that happened today was really too new for her. First, he met the legendary Pokemon Zapdos, and then his boyfriend Xiaozhi Yong directly commanded Ghastly to fight Zapdos. The most outrageous thing is that not only did he win, he also put Zapdos into the baby ball. What kind of magical plot is this? You wouldn't dare to shoot a movie like this, right? This is Zapdos, one of the 3 sacred birds of the Kanto region. The powerful being who controlled the thunder was just subdued by Xiaozhi. Pikachu, who learned about the legend of Zapdos from Misty, was also a little confused. Is this the legendary Zapdos? They were actually defeated by Mr. Ghastly and their team. The legendary Pokemon are nothing more than that he can replace it. Pikachu pinched his short paws and planned to learn from Mr. N's in the future. What's the point of fighting those ordinary Pokemon? Smashing the mythical beast with electricity is exciting enough. Misty, don't look at me like that. Although this is a real Zapdos, it is not the legendary one. It is just its clansman. If it were the one who was the legendary god of thunder, how could I dare to challenge him? You know, I've always been very steady. Xiaozhi looked at Misty, who looked stunned and shocked, with eyes full of disbelief. Smiling, he reached out and pinched her cheek and explained to her. After hearing Xiaozhi's explanation, Misty looked as if she was the same and nodded. But the shock in his eyes didn't fade much. Even if it's not the legendary one, it's the real Zapdos. And the strength is also very powerful, no less than those of the elite 10,000 Pokemon. And how long has it been since Xiaozhi started traveling that he has conquered Pokemon of this level? But it seems that this is not the first time Xiaozhi has conquered an elite-level Pokemon. I forced a 1-for-1 exchange with Zapdos for Ghastly. Isn't it also elite level? That's not. It's okay. That's outrageous. Hey, Misty. Xiaozhi leaned close to Misty's ear. If you open your mouth so wide again, I'm going to think of some strange things. A blush suddenly appeared on Misty's fair and pretty face, and she immediately tightened her mouth that had been slightly opened due to shock, leaving no room for imagination. No, it's still daytime, and we're still outside. Absolutely not allowed. Xiaozhi, don't even think about it. That's right. It's just a Zapdos. There's no need to be so surprised. In the future, when I conquer rarer mythical beasts, it won't be too late for you, Misty, to be surprised. Hey, bragging. If you can meet a Ho-Oh or catch a Zapdos in this life, it will be considered a high price. Normal people can't even think of seeing one. Xiaozhi, you still want to catch rare mythical beasts. So greedy. Misty had an expression of disbelief on her face. Believe it or not, it's up to you. If I really do it, don't object to my request. TCH, I have absolutely no objection. No matter how extreme the request is, I will agree to it because it is simply impossible. Misty was full of confidence and looked like she had a chance to win. In the near future, she shed tears of regret for her overconfidence at this moment. Well, the corners of the eyes in every sense of the word, squinting and smiling widely. Chapter 97. Nurse Joy is shocked. This is Zapdos, right? Because of conquering Zapdos, Xiaozhi's 7 carry slots are full again. After some consideration, Xiaozhi teleported by Diaobac. The Pokemon currently held by Xiaozhi include 465 Zapdos, for 61 Ghastly, IV 51 Pikachu, and 438 Charizard. Flash Gyarados has defeated more than 30 Nidoking Nidoqueen, raised his level by 2 levels to 448, and is already not far from the quasi-elite level of LV50. For 34 Hot Monkey, 13 Nidoran. Among them, Zapdos needs to stay and get along well for a while to cultivate intimacy. Charizard. Nidoran is the next Pokemon that requires the main breeder. Primeape needs to be upgraded as soon as possible and learn the Fist of Rage. Then use the Fist of Rage 20 times to increase the level and evolve, reaching the final evolved form as soon as possible. After suppressing his thoughts, Xiaozhi planned to go to the Pokemon Center to restore the contest condition to Ghastly Zapdos. By the way, give other Pokemon a full body checkup and recovery. Now the lights in Heiyun City are still bright, and the power plant is operating normally. Obviously, the time has not yet come for the task of conquering Mook in Heiyun City. Your Pokemon are all back to health. Heiyun City Pokemon Center. Nurse Joy handed over Pikachu and other Pokemon balls and said to Xiaozhi. Her voice, as sweet as ever, contained a subtle tremor that even she herself didn't notice. God knows how shocked she was when she saw the Pokemon inside after opening all the Pokemon balls just now. A Charizard that is 2 heads taller than the normal Charizard. A red Flash Gyarados that is several times the size of a regular Gyarados. Sounds strange and surprising enough, right? However, this is just a trivial matter. The last Pokemon ball she opened was a Zapdos. Zapdos, the legendary Pokemon, was conquered by Pikachu, a boy who seemed to be a trainer just starting this year. Wait, Pikachu boy. Isn't this the little hero who helped the Pokemon Center over there in Jobin City from being destroyed a few months ago. It is said that he also saved the entire city from the attack of the giant Tentacruel in Ramperchi City. It turns out that he conquered Zapdos. Then it seems reasonable. The entire Guangdong Alliance is more famous than Xiaozhi, and there are countless trainers who are stronger than Xiaozhi. The four elites of the Kanto region must have a resounding name and strong enough strength. Let alone conquering legendary Pokemon like Zapdos. I've probably never even seen one. At this moment, Nurse Joy handed Pikachu and other Pokemon balls to Xiaozhi and felt a star rising in front of her. "Thank you, Nurse Joy. Please help us with the check-in procedures." Xiaozhi thanked Nurse Joy, picked up Pikachu, and put on his shoulders. He hung the other Pokemon balls around his waist and said to Nurse Joy, "No problem. You two want 2 rooms, right? I'll handle the procedures for you right now. 1 room. Please give me a bigger space." Xiaozhi interrupted Nurse Joy. During the day, Nurse Joy seemed a little surprised when she saw the 2 people giving them affirmative looks. He quickly completed the formalities and signaled that the 2 of them could leave. Today's young trainers are becoming more and more precocious. After the 2 left, Nurse Joy looked like she was out of step with the times, shook her head, and got busy. On the other side, Pallet Town, Professor Oak's laboratory. Professor Oak was conducting his research as usual, when suddenly there was movement from the teleportation machine. Professor Oak, who was concerned about the situation of the trainer departing from Pallet Town this year, immediately put down what he was doing and quickly came to the teleportation machine. It turns out to be Xiaozhi. I don't know what Pokemon has been passed back this time. Speaking of which, the Bulbasaur who was sent back last time and refused to evolve, and the 3 Haunter brothers sent back before that are quite interesting. It has extremely important reference significance for studying Pokemon behavior. Unexpectedly, among the 4 people who set off on the trip this year, Xiaozhi, who originally seemed the least interesting and thought it would take a long time to grow up, turned out to be the 10 most promising. Well, Gary's pretty good too. After cutting a lot of living expenses, I am becoming more and more sensible now. As for the other 2, what the hell does it send back every time? Raticate, Spearow, Diglett. They really treat the laboratory as a shelter. You can catch hundreds of these ordinary Pokemon just by catching them outside the town. It has little research value. Ahem, don't think so much now. Just open it and take a look. Professor Oak coughed, interrupting his divergent thoughts. Then opened the Pokemon ball teleported back by Xiaozhi. A magnificent bird of prey suddenly appeared in front of him. "This is Baijiao. When did Baijiao become so big? Did you take a swelling agent?" The moment Baijiao appeared, Professor Oak was almost startled. Compared with the normal competition, Xiaozhi's competition feels a little more oppressive. No matter in every dimension, normal's competition must be defeated. Moreover, his eyes are sharp and full of coldness, and he feels a bit calm and confident. Without any psychological preparation, it is difficult not to be frightened when you suddenly look into such a pair of eyes. An eagle whose size is far larger than that of its own kind. Yes. Is also of great research reference value. Perhaps the Pokédex individual size record will be updated again. Professor Oak thought silently in his heart. At this moment, his grandson Gary called, almost interrupting Professor Oak's train of thought. Professor Oak took the call angrily and learned from Gary on the other end about his current situation and the agreement he made with Xiaozhi about the Krabby Civil War. After hanging up the phone, Professor Oak looked worried. How to express to Gary in a tactful way without hurting his pride. Xiaozhi has changed since he started traveling. Gary is far from being able to catch up with trainer Denua Zhao. But if he didn't say it, Gary and Xiaozhi would definitely lose miserably in the battle. Wait, Krabby Civil War? If I remember correctly, Xiaozhi should have only conquered 1 Krabby. It was the mini Krabby that he used as Gary's control group. Using that guy's words, Gary would not necessarily lose. Professor Oak thought, although he didn't dare to guarantee the ticket, but it was still determined that the Krabby Civil War would end with Gary's victory. Heian City Pokemon Center, Xiaozhi took a scald bath after checking into the room. Then Misty started the essential wind instrument practice every night under Xiaozhi's coaching. Misty's talent in musical instruments is obviously not very good. Even after practicing many times, her level still hasn't improved much. However, The music played by this young skill has a unique charm. As a teacher, Xiaozhi was very pleased and stroked Misty's little head from time to time to show encouragement. Photo: Nurse Joy. Chapter 98. Quasi-Elite Gyarados Power Tower. The clouds cleared and the rain fell, and by the time Misty had fallen asleep, Xiaozhi quietly stood up and came to an open space outside the Pokemon Center. It was late at night and lonely. Xiaozhi released Flash Gyarados first. After Flash Gyarados came out, he lowered his head and wrapped his beard around Xiaozhi's wrist. The intimacy was self-evident. Xiaozhi played with Flash Gyarados for a while, then took out 2 intermediate rare candy from the system space. This is obtained after completing the mission of using Pikachu to defeat Majisha Raichu in Vermilion City. There were 3 pills in total. I gave 1 to Pikachu at that time, and now I still have 2 pills left. Intermediate rare candy. Pokemon below 50 use level +1. It just so happens that the current Flash Gyarados level has reached 448. If you knock these 2, you can directly upgrade to IV 50. It becomes another quasi-elite level Pokemon in the team after Pikachu. After seeing Xiaozhi take out the intermediate rare candy, Flash Gyarados' eyes lit up. Taking drugs? This is so familiar. Is this the good thing about starting a small stove again? At this time, Flash Gyarados lowered his head. Ordinary people can only see the fierce eyes full of covet and prayer. Open your mouth. The meaning is obvious. Show off your mouth. Seeing Gyarados' appearance, Xiaozhi's eyes flashed with a smile. It doesn't have the appetite of a dragon, given that Flash Gyarados has no hands. Xiaozhi peeled off the candy wrappers of 2 intermediate rare candy and threw them into Flash Gyarados' mouth. Flash Gyarados' beef chew lily, due to its size, couldn't taste anything at all and just swallowed whole. Then the aura of the entire Pokemon was rising. After reaching a critical point, he jumped and his breath surged. It took a while to slowly calm down. Pokemon Gyarados level 448, LV 50. Finally, Flash Gyarados level has been raised to IV 50, entering the quasi-elite status. In most gyms in the Kanto region, they are at the level of town halls. After leveling up without using the power of destruction, Flash Gyarados happily curled up and circled around Xiaozhi. Silly and naive, not at all domineering and showy like before. The corners of Xiaozhi's eyes twitched when he saw it, and he took it back with the baby ball. Let it rest and calm down. After the Flash Gyarados issue was resolved, Xiaozhi released the Zapdos that he had just conquered today. After Zapdos was released, he made a sound, and his attitude toward Xiaozhi was neither close nor distant. Generally speaking, it is not exclusive to Xiaozhi as its new identity as a trainer. It's just that the arrogance of the mythical beast race makes it difficult for it to get close to Xiaozhi, even if Xiaozhi commanded Ghastly to defeat it head-on. To put in layman's terms, it means that the eldest daughter of an aristocratic family marries a nouveau riche. There is always a little shelf in my heart. Xiaozhi doesn't care how much. As long as he is subdued, he has to obey. What's the point of being arrogant? Although it is a mythical beast, it is also a relatively weak existence among the mythical beasts. Species strength is not even as high as that of quasi-god Pokemon. If it weren't for the fact that there was a Zapdos in the clan who held the priesthood. In addition, at ordinary times, the dragon is always seen but not seen. Word of mouth spreads it, and it is shrouded in a layer of mystery. Putting aside these factors, ordinary 3-god Pokemon may not necessarily be as powerful as quasi-god Pokemon of the same level. Facing the arrogant Zapdos, Xiaozhi has many ways to deal with it. Pretending to be from the backpack, he actually took out the previous mission reward, the Power Tower, from the system. Showed it in front of Zapdos intentionally or unintentionally. Zapdos' originally arrogant, polite, but distant look suddenly changed. Staring at the Power Tower in Xiaozhi's hand, his eyes were full of covet. As a super powerful prop that increases the effect of electrical skills by 70% after being carried. There is no doubt that Electric Tower is attractive to Pokemon with electric attributes. Even Zapdos is not exempt from vulgarity. At this moment, it looked at Xiaozhi expectantly, thinking that Xiaozhi could hand over the Power Tower to it. However, Xiaozhi didn't make any move. Just kidding, if you don't mean anything, the intimacy level doesn't increase. Do you still expect to give it a power tower? There are no doors. It's not like Zapdos is the only electric attribute Pokemon, Checky. Isn't there also Pikachu? Although Pikachu already has an exclusive item, the Light Ball, there is no rule that a Pokemon can only carry one item. As long as you don't carry exactly the same props, the effects can be superimposed. Seeing that Zapdos still made no move, Xiaozhi shook his head slightly. He mentioned Pikachu casually, and then put the electrical tower back in his backpack. Only then did he remember that Xiaozhi also had a Pikachu. Zapdos suddenly couldn't sit still. If we insist on being arrogant for a while longer, maybe we won't have its share. Pikachu. So, I'm also a part of your team? With as gentle a cry as possible, Zapdos came to Xiaozhi and lowered its proud head as a divine beast. Xiaozhi looked like a child who could be taught, and reached out to rub Zapdos' head. It feels normal in the hand, and the fried bird is indeed a fried bird, and it is very prickly, far less comfortable than Biddy-Ali. However, although the feel is normal, Xiaozhi is quite satisfied. What's the saying? What you can't get is always there. There are so many more trainers in the world of Pokemon than there are trainers with carved heads. How many people can rue a Zapdos? Maybe he's the only one who is a scorpion. Can you put your hands on your hips for a while? Pokemon, Zapdos intimacy level 170190. To be a trainer, you have to be trustworthy. Since Zapdos has bowed its head, Xiaozhi will naturally not be stingy either. Bring the power tower directly to Zapdos. Zapdos suddenly felt that there was a lot of electricity in his body, and he forcibly resisted the idea of trying the move on the spot, planning to try it again in the future. Pokemon, Zapdos, intimacy 190,235. After carrying Zapdos to the power tower, its intimacy level soared again, reaching 235 points. Depending on the posture, if you get along for a while, it is not difficult to increase it to the full value of 255 points. Sure enough, after seeing Xiaozhi command Ghastly to defeat it head-on, after seeing Xiaozhi's financial resources, he casually took out the top-notch prop power tower. Even Zapdos put aside the pride of the mythical beast and almost completely returned to his heart. Zapdos, who was so excited that his feathers rubbed against each other and crackled with lightning, took back the baby ball. Xiaozhi couldn't help but secretly sigh at the terrifying improvement of the electric attribute Pokemon using the electric tower. Even Zapdos was not immune to this. It would be nice to get another power tower in the future and equip Pikachu with one too. Pikachu, who has the ability to be an actor, has the potential to be a champion. But the future stage is much bigger than Zapdos, especially when Xiaozhi wins the Kanto Region Quartz Conference Champion and gets the hidden ability modification scroll. After modifying the disadvantages of Pikachu Movie King ability and retaining the advantages. On the surface, he only has the potential to be a champion, but in fact, if he bursts into flames, he can even give him a 50-50 fight with a first-level god. This is the face of Paishun. In addition to carrying a light ball, it's not too much to carry a power tower, right? Suppressing his thoughts, Xiaozhi looked forward to triggering a mission to reward the power tower in the future. Chapter 99, Sunny Day Skill Machine. Subdue Mook. After rubbing his hands, Xiaozhi took out the Sunny Day skill machine from the system space. The length is very similar to the skill machine in the previous Pokemon games, and the texture is somewhat unique to the touch. Xiaozhi played with it for a while, released Charizard, and equipped Charizard with this Sunny Day skill machine. The moment he carried the skill machine, an illusory number that only Xiaozhi could see appeared above Charizard's head. The numbers are still beating. Obviously, Charizard will be able to learn the Great Sunny skill when the countdown is over. Since the skill machine can be used infinitely, Xiaozhi plans to wait until he learns it from Charizard. Then let all other Pokemon in the team that can learn the Sunny Day skill learn it one by one. Too many skills don't overwhelm the body, right? The real Pokemon world does not have the limitation of only 4 skill slots in the Pokemon game. The more skills you can learn, the better. It's just that most Pokemon are unable to master too many skills due to insufficient talent potential. Of course, Xiaozhi's Pokemon doesn't have this problem. After the matter was done, Xiaozhi took Charizard back into the baby ball. Then he returned to the room, opened the bed, and got in. Misty, who was sleeping curled up alone, felt a warmth beside her body in a daze. It wrapped around Xiaozhi like an octopus and clung to Xiaozhi. Xiaozhi kissed Misty's slightly pouted lips. Okay, I brushed my teeth before resting, and there was no weird smell. I was tired of spending 2 or 3 days at the Pokemon Center in Heian City. Xiaozhi, who occasionally went out for shopping and used an open space to train Pokemon, finally waited for the heavy rain in Heian City. It seems that the Grimer swarm has blocked the seawater inlet of the Heian City power plant, causing the power plant to be unable to generate electricity. It's time to solve the power plant problem and conquer Mook to complete the mission. Misty, wake up! Xiaozhi shook Misty, who was sleeping a little dazedly beside him. What's wrong? Misty asked vaguely. Are you going to the power plant? Zapdos again? No. There's a group of Grimers and a Mook boss over there. Now they have blocked the seawater intake at the power plant, causing a power outage in the whole city. I'm going to go over there and sort things out. Well, Mook, Xiaozhi, you go ahead. I'll wait here for you. I'm exhausted just now. Okay, have a good rest. Xiaozhi patted Misty and then stood up. Put on your coat and head straight towards the power plant in the corner of Heian City. It took a while after Xiaozhi left before Misty came back to her senses. Wait, what did Xiaozhi say he was going to do just now? Deport Mook? Thinking of this, Misty got up from the bed. I went to the bathroom and put the skull down, tested the water temperature, and estimated that it would be ready for washing when Xiaozhi comes back. I squeezed a lot of shower gel inside and raised my small chin with satisfaction. On the other side, Xiaozhi, who had teleported by Jiaowei and was replaced by Charizard, had arrived at the power plant. Ignore the Magnemite floating around inside the power plant. When Psychic was turned on, it enveloped the entire power plant and scanned it quickly. Successfully found the Grimer group, blocking the seawater suction entrance. Approaching the Grimer group, the extremely foul smell was like maggots attached to the bones, going straight to the tip of the nose. Xiaozhi frowned, and Psychic unfolded to form a barrier, blocking out all the stench. Finally, Nidoran was released, and Pikachu Charizard was put in charge of holding the battle. The level of these Grimers is not very high, and there are quite a lot of them, just enough to level up Nidoran, who is in urgent need of combat experience. In this way, under Xiaozhi's command, Nidoran began his leveling journey. Pokemon, Nidoran, level IV 13, LV 16. After defeating another Grimer, Nidoran's body burst out with a dazzling light of evolution. After a while, the light of evolution dissipated, and Nidoran also successfully evolved into Nidorino. Relying on part of the physical strength recovered after evolution, Nidoran reached exhaustion after raising his level to LV 17. And there are not many Grimers left. Xiaozhi directly asked Charizard to use the least powerful Ember to defeat them all, then use Psychic to help these Grimers get to the Super Potion. The Grimers who recovered from the coma looked at Xiaozhi and Charizard in fear and fled away. At this time, Grimer boss, Mook, came over to find a place. This is what Xiaozhi is waiting for. Directly commanding Charizard to go up is a set of unreasonable combos. Mook successfully lost his fighting ability and was subdued by Xiaozhi by throwing a treasure ball. After conquering Mook, Xiaozhi chose to teleport Flash Gyarados back, leaving Mook behind. Next, go through the Fuchsia Gym, where you will also need Mook and Nidorino. Pokemon, Mook level, for 39 ability, Poisonous Hand potential, Quasi-Elite skills, Poison Gas, Sludge Bomb, Sludge, etc. Intimacy 200, Full Value 255. What to carry? None except for Ghastly and Zapdos. Mook's level was the highest when it was first recovered by Xiaozhi. It has reached 439. As long as you level up one more level, you can reach IV 40 and become a gym-level Pokemon. Ability Poison Hand is also quite good. There's a 30% chance of poisoning rival when using contact skills. It's just that the potential is a little weaker, only Quasi-Elite. But it doesn't matter. As long as the potential to enhance the ribbon is there is no need to worry about improvement. When Butterfree was first conquered, it had more than just gym-level potential. After 2 upgrades, Hasn't it reached the same elite level as other Pokemon? Mook, who is LV39, should have a certain degree of confidence when facing the Fuchsia Gym. The premise is that the opponent does not send Pokemon that are too high level, but a normal gym leader, as long as he is not like Majitian. You won't release your main or second team when facing a challenger, right? Ding! The power outage problem in Heiyun City has been solved and the task of conquering Mook has been completed. Get mission reward. Top quality Moonstone 1, Magical Perfume 1. The proper rewards have been stored in the system space and can be taken out at any time. Once taken out, they cannot be put back again. After driving away the Grimer group and subduing the Mook, the seawater intake returned to normal, and the power plant began to operate in an orderly manner. The power supply has been restored to the entire Heiyun City. Xiaozhi's mind also timely sounded the reminder that the task was completed, and he received the task reward. Xiaozhi took out the best Moonstone from the system space. It's not big, and it's more austere than the mid-grade Moonstone that the MT Moon Clefairy gave away. But it is extremely pure and feels cool to the touch. After playing around for a while, I took a photo as a souvenir. Xiaozhi waved to Nidorino. There is no situation in Nidoking where certain skills cannot be learned due to early evolution like Majisha Raichu. Since there are no worries, it is naturally better to evolve directly. The difference between Nidorino and Nidoking is not even a little bit different. Picture Mookmouth. Chapter 100, Continuous Evolution. The ultimate Moonstone mutation ability Nidoking. Nidorino, who had just evolved not long ago, couldn't help but widen his eyes. How come it has just evolved and Trainer has prepared the Moonstone for its next evolution? And it seems that it is purer than the Moonstone used by its parents, and the quality is far superior. Don't be stunned, Nidorino. Take it and evolve it. Xiaozhi looked at Nidorino's hesitation, as if he didn't dare to accept it. Smiling, he placed the best Moonstone on Nidorino's two front paws. The moment he put on, Nidorino's body erupted with intense light of evolution. The originally small figure quickly expanded under the light of evolution. From all fours to the support of strong and powerful feet, the tail becomes long and thick, with a row of spikes extending from the back to the tail. The whole body is covered with skin as hard as armor normal. The poisonous horns that stood out during the Nidorino period became longer and shone with a cold light, making people's hearts tremble, because he has been eating mysterious deep purple tree fruits since he was a child. Although Nidoking is also purple like other members of his race, the purple is darker. If you focus on it for a long time, you may even feel a little dizzy. 27 Pokemon. Nidoking potential. Elite level. IV-17 ability. Stinger. Mutated. Skills. Poison Barb. Focus Energy. Mega Horn, etc. Intimacy. 255. Full value 255. What to carry? None. The evolved Nidoking attribute panel is not much different from before. However, its ability is marked with variation. Xiaozhi carefully examined the mutated Stinger ability, and Xiaozhi was very pleased with the result. The original Sting ability is when using contact moves to attack the enemy or being attacked by the enemy using contact moves. There is a 30% chance of rival entering the poison contest condition. A new effect has been added after the mutation. That is, regardless of whether Nidoking uses a contact type of move or not, as long as it hits the enemy, it may cause the opponent to enter the poison contest condition. In addition, the probability of triggering the poison contest condition has also been increased from the original 30% to 70%. As long as your luck is not bad, it can be triggered by 2 attacks. The mutation of ability brings Nidoking more than just a tiny bit of strength. Simply epic. Is this a special change that has a small chance of being triggered when using the ultimate Moonstone to evolve? Unexpectedly, letting Nidorino use the top quality Moonstone Evolution Stone actually triggered this special change with a small probability. Love it. Come back, you are so dirty. After the evolution, Nidoking, who looked very excited, was put back into the baby ball, and Xiaozhi released the newly conquered Mook. Near duo, Mook has a very good personality, and his intimacy after being subdued is relatively high. It was easy to accept the change of identity from being a free agent to having a trainer Pokemon. Subconsciously, he came towards Xiaozhi, wanting to get close to Xiaozhi. It's just that its closeness is not something that normal people can bear. The stench and poisonous body have always been very unpopular, and few trainers have conquered it. Even trainers who specialize in poison type. There are actually very few people who can conquer Xiaozhi Mook. Even though Mook's species strength reaches 500 points, it is considered good among all poison-type Pokemon. Those who are willing to train Grimer/Mook are all werewolves in trainer. Xiaozhi is not only a ruthless person, but also a wolf destroyer, several points more than a ruthless person. Not only did he dare to conquer Mook, he also didn't dare to accept Mook's closeness. At this time, Xiaozhi took out another item, magical perfume, that was rewarded for conquering Mook and gave it to Mook to carry. The disgusting stench that lingered on Mook's body immediately dissipated completely. Even if Growlithe, who has a sensitive nose, pulls her over and smells it carefully, she still can't believe that this is real Mook. You might even think it's Ditto wearing Mook's skin. In addition, the toxins carried by Mook are also temporarily blocked. The ominous dark purple color on the entire Pokemon has faded a lot, turning into a light purple. With the two most criticized shortcomings removed, Mook is no longer repulsive. The only thing is that it looks a bit ugly, a bit like a slug made of mud, but no longer has much impact. Xiaozhi stepped forward and tentatively put his hand on Mook, applying slight pressure. The palm of my hand seemed to be placed on the quicksand quagmire, and it sank into it. After staying inside for a while, Xiaozhi pulled out his hand. Remove the barrier formed by Psychic, raise your palm, and smell it. There's indeed no smell at all, and it feels like ordinary plasticine. While keeping the Psychic barrier removed, Xiaozhi asked Mook to temporarily turn off the function of the magical perfume carried by him. The stench emanated from Mook's body again, and his light lavender body also changed into the original ominous dark purple. After confirming that the effect of the magical perfume can be turned on and off at any time, it can still have a considerable advantage in the battle with the stench and toxins carried by the body. Xiaozhi hurriedly asked Mook to activate the effect of the magical perfume and told it to maintain this contest condition in the future as long as it is not needed for combat. Mook, who has always been disliked by others and rarely has the opportunity to change, is okay. On the contrary, he is very happy. If it wasn't for Xiaozhi's request, he wouldn't even want to block the effect of the magical perfume in battle in the future. Mook also wants to be popular. After putting Mook back into the baby ball, Xiaozhi, who had been busy for a long time, returned to the Pokemon Center. Xiaozhi, you are back. You must have worked hard to drive away the Grimers. I have prepared the bathwater for you. You can take a good soak. Hey, that's strange. Xiaozhi, why don't you have that smell on your body? After returning to the room, Misty came over to greet her immediately. As I got closer, I didn't smell any odor on Xiaozhi's body, which was a little strange. You forgot. I have Psychic, which can directly isolate 700 odors. Oh, yes, I really envy those of you who have Psychic. But the water has been put in, it's just right. Xiaozhi, you'd better not waste it. Go over and take a dip. Misty pushed Xiaozhi into the bathroom. Xiaozhi, take a good bath and I'll get you some clothes. Just as Misty was about to close the door and leave, she found her wrist was grabbed. You're all here. Let's get together. I don't want pervert Xiaozhi. Misty gave a symbolic struggle to show that this was not of her own free will, and then she blushed and let him be manipulated obediently. Early on the morning of the second day, Xiaozhi, Misty, and Pikachu, who had finished their trip perfectly in Heiyun City, then headed towards Fuchsia City, encountered the Reservoir Diglett incident on the way. Xiaozhi, who had Alliance reputation plus dollar, just made a phone call. Alliance was asked to intervene and asked the construction company to build the reservoir in another location. It perfectly solves the problem of destroying Diglett's home by building a reservoir. 5 days after the Reservoir Diglett incident was perfectly resolved, Xiaozhi and his party finally arrived in front of a somewhat old mansion on the outskirts of Fuchsia City. This is Fuchsia Gym. During these days after leaving Heiyun City, I leveled up through daily exercise and hard work. Mook and Nidoking have made great progress, and the Fuchsia Gym battle is the time to test their training results. Picture Nidoking by Xiaozhi.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.